Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 1 of What If Naruto was in Senran Kagura. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Freak. Look at her ugly eyes. Her hair is gross too. The voices of young children filled the room as they stood around in a small circle. Cruelly, they would not allow the person inside to leave. The kids within the orphanage, especially in the case of not being adopted after years of potential parent visits, tended to be harsh towards their fellow orphans. That was a huge problem for the 8-year-old in the middle of the circle. Hikage stood in the center of the group. Her gaze was blank while the insults were spewed her way. With her messy shoulder-length green hair, sickly yellow eyes that contained a snake-like slit pupil and no emotion present on her face, she wasn't considered normal by any of the children. She always struggled with emotions and what she should be feeling, sometimes believing she has none. She couldn't help but wonder why the orphans were doing this. Was she really that different? We don't need freaks like you with us. When the parents see kids like you, they won't want anybody. A chubby black-haired boy yelled right into her face. His disgusting spit flew everywhere. Hikage paid it no mind. Yeah, look at her. She doesn't even care that we are yelling at her. Another shout came from a short boy with unkempt brown hair. We should teach her a lesson. Coming from the side of the boys, a group of girls stood together. Their leader was a tiny dark-haired girl. She glared fiercely at the one she deemed as an oddity. The matrons of the orphanage were so distracted with preparations for welcoming families to adopt that they had no time to check on the room where the kids were supposed to be playing. Hikage heard every crude word, yet she had no idea how to react. She was used to being screamed at by others, though the slightly older children that approached caused her heart to start thumping wildly. Hey, stop right now! A loud yell from the doorway drew everyone's attention. All of the kids, including Hikage, turned to who was intervening before they could teach her a lesson. Oh, it's the other weirdo. The brown-haired orphan muttered, scrunching his face up at the newcomer. The child who stood in the doorway was a boy around the same height of Hikage. He looked to be her age as well. Bright blonde hair framed his head in messy spikes and a pair of clear blue eyes stared at the scene before him with anger. The most peculiar thing about him was the whisker marks that adorned both sides of his face, 3 on each cheek. You guys better stop right now or I'll make you pay. The blonde boy pointed his fist in their direction. He's really trying to help her. These two are the reason we will never have parents. The leader of the girls spoke with a grimace, believing they were the cause of everyone's problems. Hikage heard the insult to her appearance, but she was obviously distracted by the bright figure in the doorway. She couldn't look away. The whiskered boy, on the other hand, appeared to be even angrier after hearing his fellow orphans' words about adoption. That's it. I'm gonna kick all your asses. I'll do it for the pretty-eyed girl. Remember my name when I do. I'm not some freak. My name is Naruto. He rushed at the group of boys and girls, not caring what potential trouble he could be in with the matrons. With rage fueling his steps, he reached them in a flash. The girls in the area widened their eyes and screamed. They all scrambled out of the way. The chubby boy and his partner in crime faced Naruto with smirks. Come on, Takeshi, we gotta teach this one a lesson first. The thinner orphan called out to his friend. He was determined to put Naruto in his place. Right, Michio. The chubby boy responded in an eager tone. Once Naruto reached the duo, he threw out punches and kicks with no real technique. He merely hoped to show the two that him and the pretty girl weren't the issue. Unfortunately, due to the size of the other boys, they quickly held Naruto down together and started to beat on him, punching and kicking almost as wildly as Naruto was beforehand. Flesh hit flesh, and Naruto truly gave it his all. Hikage watched the brutal beatdown and her body screamed to move. She wasn't sure why. She's never felt anything like that before. Something about her savior being beaten to stop her abuse caused her chest to tighten painfully. What is this? Hikage couldn't label the sensation. Stay down, you little idiot. Takeshi warned him while Michio was doing his best to hold down the thrashing Naruto. You bastards are holding me down. What a cheap way to win. Naruto roared out with various cuts on his face and a bloody lip. He stared up at his opponents with hatred. Hikage didn't wish for him to get hurt anymore despite her uncaring attitude towards everything around her. Knowing that the adults were busy, she was about to jump in to help Naruto however possible. However, before she could move again, another voice called out from the entrance. It effectively stopped all of the orphans in the room from either panicking or fighting. You children will stop this right now. An old woman screamed. She pierced the children's ears with her shrill voice. A matron, Hikage thought, but she never cared enough to remember her name. These people meant nothing to her. The elder hurried towards the group of fighting boys before pulling them apart and forcing them to stand away from each other. Naruto did his best to pull out of her grip and go back for round 2. You boys will tell me what happened. The nerve of you all. On adoption day to do something like this, how could you? She scolded the 3 children. They started it. They wouldn't leave the girl with pretty eyes alone. They were going to hit her. Naruto defended his actions. He knew what he did was against the orphanage rules, but he had to do it. He's lying. He always starts trouble around here. He ran towards us when we were playing and started attacking us. Michio put on his best sad-sounding voice to trick the old woman. Takeshi nodded his head pitifully, agreeing with his partner. He also feigned a look of sadness to the matron. The matron didn't know who to believe and turned to Hikage and the other girls. Just as Hikage was going to say something in Naruto's defense, the other girls beat her to it. It was her fault too. She was telling him to do it. The ringleader of the girls smiled devilishly at Hikage. Hikage snapped her dead eyes over to the orphan, making her shiver. Turning back to the matron, the cruel child let the waterworks begin to trick the elder. There was no way they were going to let Hikage get out of this easily. The matron knew Naruto was prone to trouble and Hikage was generally considered abnormal among the staff ever since her arrival. She let bias cloud her decision and declared them both as the ones to blame. She was too busy today to take time settling it reasonably. None of the staff seemed too keen on helping either Naruto or Hikage with much besides the essentials. That's it. You two are in trouble. Hikage, you take Naruto and help him get cleaned up. Once the parents leave, you both will be properly punished. The now strict-sounding voice of the woman said. Naruto, not one to give up easily, was about to shout back when Hikage snapped her eyes to him next. Whatever words he wanted to yell out died in his throat as she studied his bruised face and busted lip. She proceeded to grab his hand and leave through the large door of the playroom. The other children gave hidden smirks to each other when seeing the two freaks leave. It was a good day for them, and the only way it could get better is if they were adopted. The matron shook her head and let out a big sigh as the problem children left. She hurriedly made her way out to the family room where many families were waiting to meet the children. That was infinitely more important in her mind. Stupid old hag. Stupid Michio. Stupid Takeshi. Stupid orphanage. Naruto grumbled while he was dragged slowly through the hallways of the now quiet end of the orphanage. They were headed towards a bathroom to clean the blood from his face. Hikage heard his mumbles and remained quiet. Her head was filled with so many thoughts that she couldn't respond to him. She wasn't entirely sure what compelled her to grab his hand in the first place. Oi, pretty eyes. We are at the bathroom, you can let go of me. His voice called out and she looked up to see Naruto's annoyed face. Why? Hikage questioned him flatly. Why did you help me? She had to ask. Oh, well those assholes were gonna hurt you and I couldn't allow that. They always pick on me too, but you saw I can take care of them with my strength, ya know. Naruto responded proudly. Despite all of his injuries and the fact that he didn't win the little fight, he was still cocky. Why? Hikage repeated it again. Hubby-chan, you ask a lot of questions. Hubby-chan. Pretty eyes. Why call me that? Hikage continued to ask him, not understanding his nicknames. She wasn't used to interacting with others. Most of her time was spent in her bedroom where she slept the days away. I mean you do have pretty eyes. I like the color a lot and they look so cool. Just like a badass snake would. Even your hair color is awesome. I wish I had a cooler hair color, like orange or red. Yeah, that'd be great. He nodded his head in a pleased fashion as he finished. Never having received a compliment for as long as she could remember, Hikage could only stare at him in surprise. You think you can help me with all of this blood from my lip? It kinda hurts, ya know. Naruto was embarrassed to admit that. His tough act was failing. Hikage. What? My name is Hikage, she told him slowly. He seemed a bit stupid to her. I already knew that. The hag said it before we left the room. He explained to her with a careless shrug. But you won't call me Hikage. Why? Dunno, you're hubby-chan from now on. Naruto gave her a grin that left her speechless. Entering the bathroom to get towels and use the tap water to clean up Naruto's face, Hikage continued to study him like he was a huge mystery. She held a damp towel in her limp hands, refusing to move. Hubby-chan, can I get a little help please? I know I'm super strong, but my arms are sore. Naruto's face held a tiny blush. Hikage gave a small, ah, in response to Naruto before helping him clean up the mess that was his supposed victory. The entire time Naruto was being cleaned, he didn't stop smiling. He was happy that a pretty girl was hanging out with him for once instead of those losers like Takeshi and the others who made his life hell. The smile she kept seeing while cleaning his face woke something up in Hikage that she would become familiar with in the coming years. For now, it was foreign. Just from the one interaction with Naruto, Hikage's life changed forever. Having spent some time helping Naruto, Hikage returned to her small room at the end of a dark hallway to wait for whatever punishment the matron talked about before. Hikage was hungry and tired, but she really didn't care about much right now since her mind was too occupied by Naruto. The orphanage made Hikage uncomfortable. The laughter behind her back, the insults, and the adults looking at her strangely. She didn't understand it when she was younger, though now she knew it wasn't a safe space. When Naruto jumped in to save her, despite him getting his butt kicked, she wanted to help him. She wanted to tell the old lady that it wasn't his fault. Every time she closed her eyes, the image of Naruto grinning while she attempted to clean his face remained. Why am I still thinking about him? We just met. A series of fast knocks on the door broke Hikage out of her internal questioning. She figured it was the matron, and she'd rather get it over with so she could either eat or sleep. When she opened the door, Hikage was surprised at the source of the knocks. It was Naruto. The boy changed into a clean black shirt and orange shorts. He smiled happily at her from the hallway. Yo, hubby-chan. I knocked on every door in the hallway until I found your room. It took a while, but I wanted to thank you again for helping me. Naruto didn't tell her about how many kids roughly shoved him away from their doors. Ah, but you helped me. Hikage tilted her head at him, not understanding his gratitude. I only did what was right. You helped me get cleaned up and you were gonna stick up for me. That's more than what anyone's done for me in this crappy place. Naruto told her with a grimace. Oh, Hikage didn't know what to respond to that either. She looked down at the floor and her long bangs covered her eyes. Can I come in? I mean, you don't have to say yes. I just want to. Talk or whatever. Naruto asked while rubbing the back of his neck with his hand. That's okay, I guess. Hikage moved to the side to allow him to enter. It was the most she's talked with a person in her short 8 years of living. Naruto entered the room and narrowed his eyes at the state of it. His own bedroom wasn't exactly packed with stuff, consisting mostly of whatever he stole or collected. Hikage's room had basically nothing but a bed, closet and a light. How could she stay in her small room doing nothing all day? While Naruto inspected her room, Hikage watched him closely. She wondered what he really wanted and why his smile made her think she was under a big warm blanket. Hubby-chan, I have an idea. Naruto trailed off as he sat on her small and lumpy mattress. An idea? I don't like this place. I'm sick of all the crap they put me through, and I saw what those jerks did to you. I feel like, I don't know, can we just leave? Without parents? Naruto questioned, staring at the blank ceiling. I never had parents, ya know. They told me I was found on the doorstep of the orphanage and it looks like I'll never have them at this rate. He revealed sadly. Hikage did relate a lot with Naruto. She knew that she didn't like the orphanage and would rather leave. Nobody seemed to want her due to various reasons and she didn't know anything about where she came from, only knowing her birthday. However, they were 8-year-old kids, where would they go if they ran away? How can we leave? We have nothing. And we are only 8. She was curious about his answer. We don't have to worry about money for now. I'm actually really sneaky. I already stole from those old ladies. But you're right, we are young. I feel like we can do better for ourselves if we get out of here. He stuck his hand out to her, a gesture she's never been offered before. It was a dumb idea, something that 2 children at such an age shouldn't even attempt to do. Living on the streets and surviving was foolish, but for some reason Naruto's grin made Hikage believe that life could be better for them out on the unforgiving streets. What do you say, hubby-chan, you in? Staring into his blue eyes, Hikage grabbed his hand. For a moment, Hikage could have sworn her own mouth twitched to mirror his smile. Luckily for them, they couldn't have picked a better time to try and leave the orphanage. The ladies that took care of the children were far too busy managing the parents coming and going to watch everyone. The kids were told to either wait in their rooms or the playroom until they were hopefully adopted. Sneaking around happened to be Naruto's specialty. He always felt like he knew what he was doing when trying to steal or move around silently. His body basically moved on autopilot. He had the money he swiped off the old ladies and even visiting parents stuffed in his pockets. They all had no idea either. He was that good. Why are you doing this? The almost bored-sounding voice broke him out of his boasting and he turned his head to look over his shoulder. Blue's eyes came into contact with Yellow. Doing what? We are getting out of here. Why am I on your back? That's right. He almost forgot about her. Hikage was so light and he was too busy inside of his own head thinking about what window or back entrance they could leave through. I figured we would make less noise if only one of us was walking on the floor. So a piggyback ride seemed okay for you. Piggyback? Hikage simply asked, unfamiliar with the term. Yeah, that's what it's called. I saw it in a manga. A guy was saving a rich princess and carried her the same way. Ah, the small noise from Hikage told Naruto that she understood. I can put you down if you don't like it. Not getting a response back, Naruto peeked over his shoulder again to look at Hikage. Her yellow eyes were closed at the moment until she breathed in deeply. You smell good, Hikage muttered loud enough for Naruto to hear. Hikage was weird. She was very pretty, but weird. Anyway, hubby-chan, once we get to the room where they hold the trash, we can get out that window. I tried leaving before with the door, but they lock it. Hikage seemed content to lounge around on Naruto's back and let him go through with his own plan. Naruto began to feel excited as he rounded the corner to the trash room. This was it, freedom at last. He didn't know what it was, but he honestly felt like he didn't belong. Maybe it was the orphanage or the town, he wasn't sure. He felt so out of place and uncomfortable with these people. Hubby-chan was an exception. They may have just met and she was different, but he felt a connection already. That window. Hikage pointed a finger at the window in the top right of the room. The biggest window was only one drop away from leaving them in an alleyway connected to the large building. Yup. Alright, let's get out of here. Almost bouncing with excitement, Naruto stopped to put Hikage down. He expected her to get the message and release her hold on his neck. Huh, her little noise told him she was clueless. I can't climb up to the window with you on my back, ya know. Hikage paused to think it over and soon figured that he was right. It's not like he could walk up walls. Ah, alright. She slid off his back with no real rush. Okay, I'm going to get up there and pull you up. We have to be quick so nobody comes to check on us. As if they had divine luck, the people in the orphanage were not interested in taking trash out at that exact time and everything was going smoothly. A jump onto the windowsill was easy from the furniture in the room. Naruto dropped his arm over the side of the windowsill and extended his hand. Hikage thankfully got the message without explanation and grasped Naruto's hand with her own. One pull-up was all Naruto needed. Hikage was too light. It really goes to show what the orphanage was feeding them. The window thankfully wasn't locked either, making their breakout anticlimactic. I expected this to be harder. Naruto whispered as he was opening the window. Do you want it to be? I don't know. Maybe. I thought it would seem like one of those cool escape scenes in movies. Ah, Hikage nodded to herself. Hubby-chan, what are you doing? Just as he was about to get the window open, Hikage decided to use her legs that dangled from the windowsill to kick a hanging cabinet with all her strength, resulting in a loud sound that echoed throughout the room and carried into the halls. Hubby-chan, why? Naruto was nervous now. He didn't want anyone knowing they left until they could get farther away from the orphanage. Cool escape scene, Hikage answered, raising her fingers in a peace sign, with her deadpan face. Let's just get out please. Naruto tugged on Hikage's hand again to help her through the window and they were able to jump down onto the ground of the alleyway easily. It smells like actual crap. Naruto's nose crinkled at the vile scent. You smell better. Thank you. It would be a long time before Naruto would become used to Hikage's unique way of complimenting him. Where do we go now? Hikage's flat voice whispered softly in the alleyway. The outside noise from the city was loud but the kids were in their own little world. We can live on the streets. It's not like anyone was gonna take us in for adoption anyway. But let's do this. Hubby-chan, it's us against the world. We have some money to buy food and stuff. Naruto seemed almost excited to be homeless and without help. Deep down they both knew they had no other options. Even at the age of 8 they were simply unwanted by the people both in the orphanage and outside of it. Yay. The lack of emotion in her response really showed her enthusiasm. We can work on your way of celebrating, Hubby-chan. In another life, Hikage made the escape from the orphanage on her own. She roamed the cruel streets by herself. Now, she had someone who she could rely on through thick and thin. Why does he smell so good to me though? Hubby-chan, we really gotta go. Stop smelling me. Hikage didn't plan to ever stop. Surviving on the streets with little supplies for a year would be almost impossible for anyone, let alone 2 children. Currently residing in Kabukicho, a red light district in Tokyo, Naruto and Hikage traveled alleyway to alleyway. They were always on the move, but for some reason they were content. Both hated the orphanage, and while life may be even harder for them now, they made it work. Naruto found out rather quickly that he was a skilled pickpocket. He would be able to grab wallets and money from people with little to no trouble, never being caught over the year spent outside. Hikage, now 9 years old, stayed mostly the same. She still had her monotone voice, pretty, deadly eyes that can piece through a person and amazing hair color that Naruto was always going on about. She, like Naruto, was quite skilled at the art of theft. He taught her from his own experience, and they put it to the test after needing to provide for themselves after the money Naruto took originally ran out. A whole year of avoiding police officers and anyone that would try to get them off the streets wasn't easy either. However, it was worth it. They didn't have to return to what was considered the worst place on earth. Hubby-chan, I got the food. Hikage's eyes trailed up from a manga Naruto stole to stare at her partner as he dangled a grocery bag in front of her face. He appeared mostly the same, with the only difference being that he lost a little weight. You think you can make it for us? Naruto asked her with pleading eyes that she could never say no to. Why always me? You make it taste better. It's pre-made instant ramen. Hikage-chan, please. He said her name and that convinced her fully. Avoiding his begging eyes that caused her face to heat up, she nodded slightly and began to set up a portable burner and pot, both stolen of course, to cook Naruto's favorite noodles in. Naruto loved the food and Hikage enjoyed it, not to the same extent but still well enough to eat it day to day. You're the best hubby-chan. What would I do without you? Naruto was very open about what he was feeling, specifically towards Hikage. They grew close over the year they spent surviving together, and while Hikage didn't know how to respond back to Naruto, she knew she wouldn't be able to do anything without him at her side either. Despite their young age and Hikage's lack of understanding what she should be feeling, they depended on each other for every little thing. No matter how mature Naruto could get when planning out his thefts, he acted the same as the day they met whenever around her. He did call her by her name, mostly to get her to agree with him, but he mainly used the nickname he gave her, Hubby-chan. She also learned that he called her that in his sleep, as he was an avid sleep talker. It was odd when she heard him say names and locations that she knew nothing about when sleeping. It didn't affect her too much because when she struggled to sleep, she enjoyed laying next to him while gazing at the stars. Listening to his heartbeat against her ear and his nonsensical talk was a good sleep aid. Sharing a pair of chopsticks, they proceeded to sit and feed each other from the pot of now cooked noodles and listen to the silence of the alleyway. From eating to bathing, they did everything together. Luckily, other homeless people stood away from them. Naruto's whiskered appearance and Hikage's unique looks didn't make them very approachable. Naruto's voice soon broke through the comfortable silence. What's your plan for the rest of the day? He tilted his head towards her while chewing on his noodles. I want to read more. She gestured to the manga sitting on the small dirty mattress they shared. Can you read to me later? I'm gonna get a bit more money before it gets too dark. His grin became mischievous, showing he was proud of what he was going to do. Hikage sounded back. That was another thing. Naruto has been making her talk more and more over the year, to get her out of her shell, as he called it. She obviously noticed, especially when he made her read out loud to him for long periods of time. It worked in both their favors. He liked to hear her voice, and she got to be close enough to him for that warmth he seemed to constantly let out. Finishing his portion, he placed the last of the noodles in Hikage's mouth and stood up, ignoring her deadpan face at his actions. Alright, I'm heading out. Naruto turned to her with his hands on his hips. Be careful, she said to him with something in her voice that neither of them could place. Ah, I knew you cared, hubby-chan. He teased her with a cheeky smile. Scooping her up into a hug, Naruto squeezed her tightly to him, burying his face into her messy green hair. This was routine for them by now. Whenever one would leave the shared alleyway, they usually became very affectionate without realizing it. Hikage became used to the physical contact over the year, and she welcomed it from him. You can stop smelling me now. Oh. She hasn't changed at all. Naruto thought dryly. He knew that he didn't smell clean anymore, but Hikage did that every time she was close to him, always remarking that she liked it. Shaking his head at his partner's odd behavior, Naruto backed away and proceeded to the entrance of the long alleyway before giving Hikage a lazy wave. Hikage watched him leave with a frown. She wanted to tell him to stay, but she knew what was necessary for today. Neither could have predicted that Naruto's next pickpocket target would be the one to shake up their world again. It didn't take very long for Naruto to pick out a target in the shopping center. He had a good eye for seeing what people looked like they had money on them. He spotted a very beautiful girl, in her late teens if he had to guess. She wore a beautiful white sundress that clung to her developed figure. Her long blonde hair framed her cute face, which was a few shades paler than his own, and it waved back and forth as she window shopped. The reason Naruto picked her was because of the way she moved. She walked with purpose and confidence. Seeing many rich and poor people over the year, the older girl looked like she fit the part of being nobility or a princess. Okay Naruto, all you gotta do is run by, bump into her, knock her purse out of her hand and run like hell, you got this. He always psyched himself up before stealing anything, it hasn't failed him yet. While it wasn't the usual pickpocket at all, he wouldn't be taking her money and leaving the purse. No, this time he needed more than whatever pocket change people carried with them. He could sell the expensive purse for some easy money too. Despite his rushed planning, he was sure that if all goes wrong they could always relocate alleyways to a different area. Approaching the girl fast, Naruto cut between people who ignored the dirty-looking child before he slammed right into her. Using his entire body, he successfully knocked her down alongside him. Her purse fell carelessly by her feet. Sorry pretty lady, he exclaimed before the girl could come back to her senses. She was in a state of disbelief due to being knocked down by an actual child. Shaking her head, the girl caught the face of the child who ran into her. Cute little whiskers and sparkling blue eyes made her smile, but then she realized her predicament. She pushed herself up and fixed her dress so she wouldn't give anybody a free show. Her eyes easily followed the boy weaving through the crowd as fast as he could. Seems someone fancies themselves as a little thief. The pretty lady thought with a smirk. Poor boy doesn't know who he's messing with. Okay, I have to get back to hubby-chan and we can lay low for a bit. Sorry lady, we need this way more than you. Naruto maneuvered through the crowds naturally and ran down the streets as fast as his legs could take him. It wouldn't be long before he reached the alleyway, and the setting sun would help cover his escape. He couldn't stop the grin from appearing on his face. It feels good to be me. Resisting the urge to celebrate, he ran full speed ahead to their home. Hikage didn't have to wait long for Naruto to get back. She put down her manga and looked to the opposite end of the alleyway where she spotted Naruto out of breath and bathed in the setting sun. She made a strange face when she saw his disheveled appearance. He needs to jump in the river. I like his smell but not when he's sweating like that. Those were her first thoughts. Her obsession with Naruto began within the year but she didn't realize it yet. She had no idea how bad it would be in the future. Hubby-chan, mission accomplished. Naruto moved closer to her and held up a small expensive-looking purse. Good job. Maybe you can go take a bath now. Sure. We have to get food for the week first though, remember? I want your hair clean. Ah ha ha. She made it weird again. Just as Naruto was about to flip open the purse and scavenge whatever he could inside, they both heard clapping and a sweet-sounding laugh coming from the entrance of the alleyway. Look what we have here. Not one, but two cute little thieves. Naruto's eyes widened at the words and he turned to get a better look at the speaker. Long blonde hair, expensive sundress, shining green eyes peering at them both with amusement. He instantly noticed the lack of a purse. Oh shit. Oh shit indeed, my little criminal. The girl responded, amused at the child's crude language. Hikage looked ready to bolt and the way her body moved closer to Naruto made the girl's smile widen even more. She didn't know their names and they were already making her day. So, I'm going to need that back or someone's going to end up getting hurt. She pointed at the purse in Naruto's now shaky hands. Naruto spared a glance at Hikage, a silent message passed between the two of them. They knew they had to run. Now, no running or I'm going to get mad. The same sweet voice cut into the two thieves' internal planning. Listen lady, we need this. We don't have enough for food. You look like you can do without whatever is in your purse for a bit. Naruto tried negotiating, it was their best shot before bolting. Oh my, but I'm afraid to tell you I do need my purse back, and I intend to get it any way I can. Naruto and Hikage froze in place when the girl lifted the bottom of her dress up a bit to reveal her long legs and stockings. Last chance cuties, she warned with the same grin and dangerous gleam in her eye. Naruto didn't know what she was planning on doing, but he moved himself in front of Hikage. Even if she hurt him, he would never allow Hikage to take the punishment. Hikage's eyes opened wide when seeing Naruto put himself in front of her. He wanted to protect her. Something that he seemed to do instinctually in the time she's known him. Adorable, I can just eat you two up. But maybe later, I'm taking back what's mine. Her right hand reached to the top of her stockings and she withdrew a knife. The knife itself was wicked in appearance, with a battered brown handle and black trim around the sharpened silver blade. There were even little notches on the blade that looked detachable. Like a bullet, she took off fast. It took less than 2 seconds before she ended up in front of Naruto. Her knife poised and ready, uncaring of the target. If a trained eye were observing her, they would see how perfect her form was, how her precision was sure to hit its target. Naruto closed his eyes sensing her approach and right before she reached him, he screamed out, "You can hurt me, just don't hurt Hikage. Please." His eyes tightly shut, Naruto didn't care what would happen to him. He was only worried about the trembling 9-year-old behind his back that couldn't believe how far he'd go for her. She also had her eyes closed now, not wanting to see Naruto, her savior, being hurt. Expecting pain, Naruto cracked an eye open and was shocked to find the girl standing in front of him, knife hanging weakly at her side. She observed them with joy-filled eyes. You too, she paused dramatically before finishing, I'm keeping you. What? Huh. The girl, in a matter of seconds, folded the knife and stuck it back under her dress before nodding at the two helpless children. You both are coming with me. I was never really going to kill you, you know. Did you think I'd kill kids? I was just trying to scare you a little bit and teach you not to steal from dangerous people. She had a devilish grin on her face again. Hey, screw you lady. That's what you call trying to scare us. I felt like I was going to die, you asshole. Her grin dropped at his language. She bent over to get in his face and smacked him upside the head lightly. Ow. You deserved it. Don't call a beautiful young lady like me an asshole. Got it, cutie. You and your girlfriend here need to be taught some manners, it seems. Girlfriend. Hikage thought while staring at this girl, not really getting what she meant by that. Now that she got a good look at the girl, she was gorgeous. She looked like a model rather than a girl who knew how to use a deadly knife. Naruto's face flushed when hearing the girl call Hikage his girlfriend, and from the distance between him and her, he could kind of see down her dress. Not that he was looking. He was broken out of his thoughts by the sound of someone clearing their throat, only to see the blonde girl strike a pose she believed looked cool. Now then, my cuties. My name is Hinata, proud leader of Daybreak. Naruto didn't know how many times the older girl could make him speechless today. Daybreak. The gang that he heard people whisper about in town. Hinata, leader. You're the leader of a gang. Yep. Because you stole from me, I'm stealing you and her in return. You're mine now, she replied to his question as another wicked grin took place on her face. Hikage seemed to space out here, but she was deep in thought. Hinata's presence made her keep quiet, and the way she acted made her appear so sure of herself. That left a good impression on Hikage despite the obvious scare she just gave both of them. She was so strong, so pretty. If she was strong like her, she would be able to protect Naruto from anything. Like hell we are. I'll give you the purse back, you can leave us alone. Naruto was already shoving the purse back into her hands. I'll gladly take my purse. That damn smile on her face dropped with her next words. But really, you two, look around you. You both can't be more than 8, 9. You're living in an alleyway stealing from people off the streets and sleeping on a dirty mattress. I don't imagine you have parents. Hinata trailed off, seeing Naruto put his head down while Hikage stared ahead blankly. No. We ran away from the orphanage. No parents wanted us and everyone hated us there. They always forgot about me and never helped hubby-chan. We were doing fine on the streets for a whole year. I never messed up until today. Naruto seemed like he hated himself in that moment, making Hinata drop to her knees in the dirty alleyway to get eye level with the kids. Her expensive dress was the least of her worries right now. I have a gang, that's true. However, I was just like the both of you, running away from the orphanage, having nothing and nobody. You two may have each other, though I'm offering a chance here to get you out of this. I know this is sudden, but I'm not going to leave you to live like this, not if I can help it. They both reminded her of herself at that age. It would be painful to leave them alone. Hikage seemed to observe the scene keenly now. Usually she spaced out in long conversations not related to Naruto, yet she was alert. She would follow whatever Naruto would do, no matter how strong this girl was. Naruto was the one who protected her, kept her warm, saved her. Please kids, just come with me. I promise I'm not going to make you do anything involving my profession. I want to give you somewhere safe to live. She was almost pleading with them at this point. She thought she was beyond caring about others at this point in her life, but she felt like she could connect with these two. They were something else to be able to survive this long on their own, which greatly impressed her. It didn't hurt that they were two cuties as well. She's never had family, and these kids might be the ones to change that. Naruto heard her words and he knew this was a big decision to make, but at this point what did they have to lose? Disgusting alleyways and a dirty mattress. Turning to Hikage, he grasped her hands tightly in his own. Hikage-chan, I'm serious, whatever you want I'll follow you, okay? We are in this together, ya know. He ignored Hinata's cry of, that's cute. Hikage stared deeply into Naruto's eyes, her chest gave off a weird pawn again. You'll take care of us? She asked Hinata. Even with Hikage's flat voice, the seriousness of the question can be heard clearly. Of course. You won't hurt us. Not outside of teaching you both about self-defense. Can I be like you? Hinata looked a bit confused at that one. Even Naruto tilted his head at Hikage's odd question. Strong and pretty. I want to protect Naruto. Only Naruto. Naruto had a blush on his cheeks. Hinata's eyes lit up before she grabbed Hikage in a hug and pushed her head into her breasts. You certainly will be. You two are so cute together. Naruto-chan, come over here and accept my hug. No way. You tried to kill me, and we barely know you. Naruto waved his hands rapidly, denying the affection. Come now, my little thief. I'm your guardian from now on, so when I ask for hugs, I will receive hugs. Understood. Grumbling to himself over how fast things were moving, Naruto reluctantly moved himself towards Hinata and joined in on the hug. His face pushed into her large breasts and stuck up against his partner. Hikage seemed almost transfixed on Hinata's huge chest. So big. Thank you for the compliment. Can I be like that? I'm sure you will be. Naru, would you like that? Naruto's bright red face was conveniently hidden by Hinata's chest. He didn't even want to answer Hikage's question right now. Removing the kids from her hug, she pointed a hand to the entrance of the alleyway. Hinata had a flair for dramatics, it seemed. Alright cuties, time to move out before it gets too dark. Pack whatever is important to you, none of that dirty crap, you're coming back to my place. She began marching towards the entrance. Despite how fast things moved, the kids listened to Hinata. Naruto and Hikage gathered what little items that were important before they followed Hinata. Naruto looked back at the alleyway one more time with a sad expression on his face before he felt a small hand grab his own. Shifting his eyes to see Hikage's yellow pupils staring into his own, he gave her hand a squeeze and the duo finally joined Hinata. We have arrived at my humble abode. Hinata turned around with her hands on her hips to face the tiny thieves. Naruto looked over her home critically before a smile appeared on his face. You have a nice house, even if you're crazy. His comment made her face twitch. The building sat at the edge of town, far away from the ever-present noise that the red light district produced. It wasn't the biggest home they had seen before from the streets, but they've never actually been inside one. Naruto almost bounced up and down in excitement for finally having somewhere to live. I'll ignore that insult for now. You'd be surprised what offering protection from rivaling gangs can pay in this town. She told them with a smirk. She paused after seeing their lost expressions at her words. Right, they were only 9. But enough of that. Let's get a move on inside. You kids need a bath immediately and something to eat. Hinata started to move towards her door to unlock it. When she heard no footsteps behind her, she spun around in concern. What's wrong? Naruto. Hikage. Why are you doing all this for us? Surprisingly, the question came from Hikage, who still couldn't understand the concept of helping people who were strangers. I told you both already, you remind me a lot of myself at that age. I can't leave you two living on the streets anymore. While I do have a gang and earn money through questionable means, I'm not going to let 2 kids who are like myself starve to death on the streets. Hinata's eyes softened as she looked directly at Hikage. She obviously trusted no one outside of Naruto. I won't let you down. So move your little asses inside right now. Flashing her bright white teeth at them, she threw her door open. Hikage, who held onto Naruto's hand like a lifeline, moved slowly with him to the entrance of the home and peered inside. It was clean for one. The hallway leading off into different rooms had shoes neatly sorted by the door and stairs on the right side that led up to the second floor. Wow. Naruto looked around and his eyes sparkled at the comfortable interior. I take it you both like it? Hinata asked the two, already knowing their answer based off the reactions she received. Naruto loved what he was seeing, and based on Hikage's mouth being open ever so slightly in shock, she did too. It's sad how a simple home makes them this happy. She shook her head to rid herself of negative thoughts. She needed to make them comfortable, not concern herself with the sad reality of some orphans. I live alone, and the only visitors I get occasionally are my gang members whenever something important goes down. This is now your house just as much as it's mine. So please, I know it'll be hard, but try to get relax. She wasn't exactly the best at reassuring actual children. She was used to dealing with delinquents and dangerous people. Hinata practically raised herself. She had no experience with a guardian or parental figure. Hinata. Thank you. Naruto's eyes were watery as he faced her. They were never given anything by anybody, having to grow up faster than other children their age due to their choice. With how quickly Hinata was taking them in, Naruto couldn't help expressing gratitude at the moment. Seeing him almost in tears, Hinata pulled him into a big hug. She ran her fingers through his dirty hair gently, similar to how a mother would to comfort her child. I'll take care of you both from now on, I swear on it. You won't end up alone like me. She spoke softly into Naruto's ear. Peering over to the other occupant of her house, she called out to her. Hikage-chan, come give me a hug too. Naruto owes me lots of hugs for robbing me. You do too. Naruto's indignant "Hey" was muffled by Hinata's chest for a second time that day. Hikage, not really used to physical contact with anyone besides Naruto, slowly approached her and wrapped her arms around Hinata's waist. She felt the warmth she was giving off. Is this what a parent is like? Hikage questioned herself innocently as she melted into Hinata's soft embrace. They held their hug for what felt like an hour before Hinata tapped them on their backs. We can hug a lot more later. For the time being, I need you two to get cleaned up while I make some dinner. I'll show you both where the bathroom and the kitchen are so you don't get lost. You can take turns bathing. Turns? Huh. The kids' questions confused Hinata. What did they not understand? She was sure she made it as clear as possible. What do you both mean? We always go in the river together. Hikage's flat voice gave her the answer. Naruto nodded his head at her side. Yeah, we always help each other stay clean. Oh, I see how they are. It made sense to Hinata. All they had were each other for the past year, they were used to doing everything together. It was extremely cute, and she couldn't wait to see what would happen when they got older. Alright then, you both can take a bath together. I'll get you towels, and you can wear some of my clothes. I should still have a few pairs from when I was younger. She narrowed her eyes, thinking of where her childhood outfits could be. Hope you don't mind wearing girls' clothes for tonight, Naruto. It's all I have right now. It's fine. As long as we can get out of these dirty clothes, I'll deal with it. Naruto didn't care about the type of outfit. He was more than happy with how generous Hinata was that it could be overlooked easily. Gesturing for the kids to follow her to the bathroom, she pushed them inside before explaining to them where the soaps and shampoos were to use. She couldn't help but giggle at how close they were. Surely it wouldn't cause problems in the future. With the children bathing, Hinata went off on her search for clothes. Clothes that she probably stole when she was around Naruto and Hikage's age. 30 minutes later, Hinata finished cooking a simple meal of fish and rice. She glanced at the clock in her kitchen and wondered what the hell was taking the kids so long. Did they drown in the damn bath water? Setting the table quickly, she moved to her bathroom and listened against the wooden door. Hinata let out a sigh in relief when she heard Naruto and Hikage's voice. Good, they were alive. This is kind of embarrassing to wear, ya know. It's like I'm wearing a dress. Ah. Really, why did I get this big shirt and you have a small one? Hikage-chan, are you smelling my hair again? I'm not sorry. Hinata couldn't stop the grin forming on her face from listening to the two interact. She managed to find underwear and a shirt that could fit Hikage perfectly, but Naruto was stuck with a small pair of shorts and a long nightgown. She reminded herself to do some clothes shopping for them first thing in the morning. She wanted her kids to be comfortable after all. She froze up immediately when she realized one important detail. Wait. My kids. I called them mine. It's ridiculous. She just met them and already she's grown attached in the span of a couple hours. Well, it's not like they belong to anybody else, and there was no way she'd give them up when they were similar to her. Yeah, she wasn't giving them to anyone. Hinata knocked on the door to tell her kids that dinner was ready. Naruto-chan. Hikage-chan. Food's ready. Get out here before it gets cold. The door opened slowly and Hinata's eyes drank in the adorable sight that was Hikage clinging to Naruto's back with her face pushed against his neck. Naruto's cheeks were bright red. It was either from the steam, his state of dress, or Hikage. Hinata didn't know nor did she care. You two are so adorable. I'm glad my old clothes fit you, Hikage-chan. I won't apologize to you, Naruto. You look adorable in that oversized nightgown. Naruto's cheeks burned brighter from her words. Hikage on the other hand couldn't be bothered with anything else. Naruto finally smelled amazing. To her he always smelled good, but now it was even better. You can hang on to your boyfriend later, Hikage-chan. We need to eat now. It was impossible for Naruto to feel more embarrassment. He hung his head in defeat. Pulling the kids along with her to the kitchen, Hinata sat them in chairs next to each other after successfully prying Hikage off Naruto for the time being. She began to serve the two her cooked meal, and they both thanked her quietly. Naruto was too excited to eat a meal that was home-cooked for once. Watching them eat was amused Hinata. She was surprised they didn't tear into the food with no manners. Instead they ate slowly, savoring it and feeding each other occasionally. Only 9 years old and they already act like a couple. The future is set in stone at this rate. She couldn't hide her smirk at the thought of how they would act when they realized the implications of what they did together. Well, she kind of expected Hikage to not care about embarrassment judging by her personality, but Naruto would be very fun to tease. She couldn't wait. Thank you for the meal. Naruto and Hikage spoke in sync while they sat shoulder to shoulder. Now, you don't need to thank me. I told you both already, I'm taking care of you from now on. You better get used to this. Naruto's smile at her words was blinding and she could have sworn she saw Hikage's lips twitch upwards. When their dinner was finished, Hinata sent them both to the living room to watch television. They didn't need to be told twice, especially Naruto. Shortly after cleaning up from the meal, Hinata walked into the living room and witnessed Naruto transfixed at the flat screen with an interested Hikage sitting on his lap. Averting her eyes to the screen, she noticed what was on that had them so intrigued. A show about shinobi. It had to be. The characters wore all black and threw out shuriken as they stuck to the shadows. It seemed both Naruto and Hikage liked the tale of shinobi. She supposed kids could have worse role models. Like myself, for example. Hinata struggled to keep the smirk from showing on her face. She knew she wouldn't be a good role model for kids. She only recently turned 20 years old herself, but she'll do her best. One day I want to be a shinobi just like them. What about you, hubby-chan? Naruto's excited voice echoed throughout the room. I guess we can be shinobi together. Remember what I said. It's us against the world, Hikage-chan. Ah. Hinata stifled a laugh at the tint of red on Hikage's cheeks. She probably didn't even realize she was embarrassed. God, these kids were precious. But seriously, shinobi, didn't they want to be something cooler? Like the leader of a gang? She totally wasn't biased. Letting the kids enjoy themselves for another hour, Hinata decided it was time for bed. She had to get an early start for tomorrow. Shopping for kids wouldn't be easy. She pulled them away from the television to bring them to her room. The sleeping situation needed to be explained. Okay, for the time being you'll both be sleeping with me in my bed. Yes, we just met today, but I won't let you both sleep on the floor or the couch. I do have a few rooms that I'll eventually get nice beds for, though right now we can all stay together. I know you two wouldn't want to be separated, so Naruto, you can sleep in the middle. Two hesitant nods gave Hinata the confirmation she needed before she grabbed her own pajamas and changed in the bathroom. Re-entering the bedroom in a long nightgown like Naruto's and a pair of small shorts, Hinata looked at the two who seemed very comfortable laying on the bed staring at the ceiling. You two comfortable enough? Yeah, it's so warm. Satisfied with the responses, Hinata moved into bed on the right side of Naruto with Hikage taking his left. She snuggled up against Naruto and draped her arm around him to pull Hikage closer. Good night, my little cuties, I hope you have a good sleep. Naruto's voice happened to be muffled. Hinata had him pulled against her breasts like a teddy bear. Giving another smile in the dark, Hinata peeked over at Hikage to see two narrowed yellow eyes glaring at her. Are you comfortable, Hikage-chan? Let him go. I sleep with him like that. It seemed she was possessive. Hinata couldn't wait to tease them endlessly. She released Naruto from her clutches and watched in the dark as Hikage's hands pulled him quickly to her own chest. Sleep, Naru. Hikage's whispered to her savior. At least I can breathe now. Thanks, hubby-chan. Hinata giggled lowly when she noticed Hikage's glare return due to her hurting Naruto. This is the best decision I've ever made. With that as her final thought, Hinata relaxed and attempted to fall asleep beside the two orphans who she personally claimed. One thing was certain, with these two in her life there would never be a dull moment. Hubby-chan, stop smelling me and go to sleep. Naruto's hushed whisper and Hikage's little surprised noise made Hinata smirk in the dark. Yeah, best decision ever. Surviving on the streets with little supplies for a year would be almost impossible for anyone, let alone two children. Currently residing in Kabukicho, a red light district in Tokyo, Naruto and Hikage traveled alleyway to alleyway. They were always on the move, but for some reason they were content. Both hated the orphanage, and while life may be even harder for them now, they made it work. Naruto found out rather quickly that he was a skilled pickpocket. He would be able to grab wallets and money from people with little to no trouble, never being caught over the year spent outside. Hikage, now 9 years old, stayed mostly the same. She still had her monotone voice, pretty, deadly eyes that can piece through a person and amazing hair color that Naruto was always going on about. She, like Naruto, was quite skilled at the art of theft. He taught her from his own experience, and they put it to the test after needing to provide for themselves after the money Naruto took originally ran out. A whole year of avoiding police officers and anyone that would try to get them off the streets wasn't easy either. However, it was worth it. They didn't have to return to what was considered the worst place on earth. Hubby-chan, I got the food. Hikage's eyes trailed up from a manga Naruto stole to stare at her partner as he dangled a grocery bag in front of her face. He appeared mostly the same, with the only difference being that he lost a little weight. You think you can make it for us? Naruto asked her with pleading eyes that she could never say no to. Why always me? You make it taste better. It's pre-made instant ramen. Hikage-chan, please. He said her name and that convinced her fully. Avoiding his begging eyes that caused her face to heat up, she nodded slightly and began to set up a portable burner and pot, both stolen of course, to cook Naruto's favorite noodles in. Naruto loved the food and Hikage enjoyed it, not to the same extent but still well enough to eat it day to day. You're the best, hubby-chan. What would I do without you? Naruto was very open about what he was feeling, specifically towards Hikage. They grew close over the year they spent surviving together, and while Hikage didn't know how to respond back to Naruto, she knew she wouldn't be able to do anything without him at her side either. Despite their young age and Hikage's lack of understanding what she should be feeling, they depended on each other for every little thing. No matter how mature Naruto could get when planning out his thefts, he acted the same as the day they met whenever around her. He did call her by her name, mostly to get her to agree with him, but he mainly used the nickname he gave her, Hubby-chan. She also learned that he called her that in his sleep, as he was an avid sleep talker. It was odd when she heard him say names and locations that she knew nothing about when sleeping. It didn't affect her too much because when she struggled to sleep, she enjoyed laying next to him while gazing at the stars. Listening to his heartbeat against her ear and his nonsensical talk was a good sleep aid. Sharing a pair of chopsticks, they proceeded to sit and feed each other from the pot of now cooked noodles and listen to the silence of the alleyway. From eating to bathing, they did everything together. Luckily, other homeless people stood away from them. Naruto's whiskered appearance and Hikage's unique looks didn't make them very approachable. Naruto's voice soon broke through the comfortable silence. What's your plan for the rest of the day? He tilted his head towards her while chewing on his noodles. I want to read more. She gestured to the manga sitting on the small dirty mattress they shared. Can you read to me later? I'm gonna get a bit more money before it gets too dark. His grin became mischievous, showing he was proud of what he was going to do. Hikage sounded back. That was another thing. Naruto has been making her talk more and more over the year, to get her out of her shell, as he called it. She obviously noticed, especially when he made her read out loud to him for long periods of time. It worked in both their favors. He liked to hear her voice, and she got to be close enough to him for that warmth he seemed to constantly let out. Finishing his portion, he placed the last of the noodles in Hikage's mouth and stood up, ignoring her deadpan face at his actions. Alright, I'm heading out. Naruto turned to her with his hands on his hips. Be careful, she said to him with something in her voice that neither of them could place. Ah, I knew you cared, hubby-chan. He teased her with a cheeky smile. Scooping her up into a hug, Naruto squeezed her tightly to him, burying his face into her messy green hair. This was routine for them by now. Whenever one would leave the shared alleyway, they usually became very affectionate without realizing it. Hikage became used to the physical contact over the year, and she welcomed it from him. You can stop smelling me now. Oh. She hasn't changed at all. Naruto thought dryly. He knew that he didn't smell clean anymore, but Hikage did that every time she was close to him, always remarking that she liked it. Shaking his head at his partner's odd behavior, Naruto backed away and proceeded to the entrance of the long alleyway before giving Hikage a lazy wave. Hikage watched him leave with a frown. She wanted to tell him to stay, but she knew what was necessary for today. Neither could have predicted that Naruto's next pickpocket target would be the one to shake up their world again. It didn't take very long for Naruto to pick out a target in the shopping center. He had a good eye for seeing what people looked like they had money on them. He spotted a very beautiful girl, in her late teens if he had to guess. She wore a beautiful white sundress that clung to her developed figure. Her long blonde hair framed her cute face, which was a few shades paler than his own, and it waved back and forth as she window shopped. The reason Naruto picked her was because of the way she moved. She walked with purpose and confidence. Seeing many rich and poor people over the year, the older girl looked like she fit the part of being nobility or a princess. Okay Naruto, all you gotta do is run by, bump into her, knock her purse out of her hand and run like hell, you got this. He always psyched himself up before stealing anything, it hasn't failed him yet. While it wasn't the usual pickpocket at all, he wouldn't be taking her money and leaving the purse. No, this time he needed more than whatever pocket change people carried with them. He could sell the expensive purse for some easy money too. Despite his rushed planning, he was sure that if all goes wrong they could always relocate alleyways to a different area. Approaching the girl fast, Naruto cut between people who ignored the dirty-looking child before he slammed right into her. Using his entire body, he successfully knocked her down alongside him. Her purse fell carelessly by her feet. Sorry pretty lady, he exclaimed before the girl could come back to her senses. She was in a state of disbelief due to being knocked down by an actual child. Shaking her head, the girl caught the face of the child who ran into her. Cute little whiskers and sparkling blue eyes made her smile, but then she realized her predicament. She pushed herself up and fixed her dress so she wouldn't give anybody a free show. Her eyes easily followed the boy weaving through the crowd as fast as he could. Seems someone fancies themselves as a little thief. The pretty lady thought with a smirk. Poor boy doesn't know who he's messing with. Okay, I have to get back to hubby-chan and we can lay low for a bit. Sorry lady, we need this way more than you. Naruto maneuvered through the crowds naturally and ran down the streets as fast as his legs could take him. It wouldn't be long before he reached the alleyway, and the setting sun would help cover his escape. He couldn't stop the grin from appearing on his face. It feels good to be me. Resisting the urge to celebrate, he ran full speed ahead to their home. Hikage didn't have to wait long for Naruto to get back. She put down her manga and looked to the opposite end of the alleyway where she spotted Naruto out of breath and bathed in the setting sun. She made a strange face when she saw his disheveled appearance. He needs to jump in the river. I like his smell but not when he's sweating like that. Those were her first thoughts. Her obsession with Naruto began within the year but she didn't realize it yet. She had no idea how bad it would be in the future. Hubby-chan, mission accomplished. Naruto moved closer to her and held up a small expensive-looking purse. Good job. Maybe you can go take a bath now. Sure. We have to get food for the week first though, remember? I want your hair clean. Ah ha ha, she made it weird again. Just as Naruto was about to flip open the purse and scavenge whatever he could inside, they both heard clapping and a sweet-sounding laugh coming from the entrance of the alleyway. Look what we have here. Not one, but two cute little thieves. Naruto's eyes widened at the words and he turned to get a better look at the speaker. Long blonde hair, expensive sundress, shining green eyes peering at them both with amusement. He instantly noticed the lack of a purse. Oh shit. Oh shit indeed my little criminal. The girl responded, amused at the child's crude language. Hikage looked ready to bolt and the way her body moved closer to Naruto made the girl's smile widen even more. She didn't know their names and they were already making her day. So, I'm going to need that back or someone's going to end up getting hurt. She pointed at the purse in Naruto's now shaky hands. Naruto spared a glance at Hikage, a silent message passed between the two of them. They knew they had to run. Now, no running or I'm going to get mad. The same sweet voice cut into the two thieves' internal planning. Listen lady, we need this. We don't have enough for food. You look like you can do without whatever is in your purse for a bit. Naruto tried negotiating, it was their best shot before bolting. Oh my, but I'm afraid to tell you I do need my purse back, and I intend to get it any way I can. Naruto and Hikage froze in place when the girl lifted the bottom of her dress up a bit to reveal her long legs and stockings. Last chance cuties, she warned with the same grin and dangerous gleam in her eye. Naruto didn't know what she was planning on doing, but he moved himself in front of Hikage. Even if she hurt him, he would never allow Hikage to take the punishment. Hikage's eyes opened wide when seeing Naruto put himself in front of her. He wanted to protect her. Something that he seemed to do instinctually in the time she's known him. Adorable, I can just eat you two up. But maybe later, I'm taking back what's mine. Her right hand reached to the top of her stockings and she withdrew a knife. The knife itself was wicked in appearance, with a battered brown handle and black trim around the sharpened silver blade. There were even little notches on the blade that looked detachable. Like a bullet, she took off fast. It took less than 2 seconds before she ended up in front of Naruto. Her knife poised and ready, uncaring of the target. If a trained eye were observing her, they would see how perfect her form was, how her precision was sure to hit its target. Naruto closed his eyes sensing her approach and right before she reached him, he screamed out, "You can hurt me, just don't hurt Hikage. Please." His eyes tightly shut, Naruto didn't care what would happen to him. He was only worried about the trembling 9-year-old behind his back that couldn't believe how far he'd go for her. She also had her eyes closed now, not wanting to see Naruto, her savior, being hurt. Expecting pain, Naruto cracked an eye open and was shocked to find the girl standing in front of him, knife hanging weakly at her side. She observed them with joy-filled eyes. "You too," she paused dramatically before finishing, "I'm keeping you." "What? Huh?" The girl, in a matter of seconds, folded the knife and stuck it back under her dress before nodding at the two helpless children. "You both are coming with me. I was never really going to kill you, you know. Did you think I'd kill kids? I was just trying to scare you a little bit and teach you not to steal from dangerous people." She had a devilish grin on her face again. "Hey, screw you lady. That's what you call trying to scare us. I felt like I was going to die, you asshole." Her grin dropped at his language. She bent over to get in his face and smacked him upside the head lightly. "Ow. You deserved it. Don't call a beautiful young lady like me an asshole. Got it, cutie. You and your girlfriend here need to be taught some manners, it seems." Girlfriend, Hikage thought while staring at this girl, not really getting what she meant by that. Now that she got a good look at the girl, she was gorgeous. She looked like a model rather than a girl who knew how to use a deadly knife. Naruto's face flushed when hearing the girl call Hikage his girlfriend, and from the distance between him and her, he could kind of see down her dress. Not that he was looking. He was broken out of his thoughts by the sound of someone clearing their throat, only to see the blonde girl strike a pose she believed looked cool. "Now then, my cuties. My name is Hinata, proud leader of Daybreak." Naruto didn't know how many times the older girl could make him speechless today. Daybreak. The gang that he heard people whisper about in town. Hinata, leader. You're the leader of a gang. Yep. Because you stole from me, I'm stealing you and her in return. You're mine now, she replied to his question as another wicked grin took place on her face. Hikage seemed to space out here, but she was deep in thought. Hinata's presence made her keep quiet, and the way she acted made her appear so sure of herself. That left a good impression on Hikage despite the obvious scare she just gave both of them. She was so strong, so pretty. If she was strong like her, she would be able to protect Naruto from anything. "Like hell we are. I'll give you the purse back, you can leave us alone." Naruto was already shoving the purse back into her hands. "I'll gladly take my purse." That damn smile on her face dropped with her next words. "But really, you two, look around you. You both can't be more than 8, 9. You're living in an alleyway stealing from people off the streets and sleeping on a dirty mattress. I don't imagine you have parents." Hinata trailed off, seeing Naruto put his head down while Hikage stared ahead blankly. "No. We ran away from the orphanage. No parents wanted us and everyone hated us there. They always forgot about me and never helped hubby-chan. We were doing fine on the streets for a whole year. I never messed up until today." Naruto seemed like he hated himself in that moment, making Hinata drop to her knees in the dirty alleyway to get eye level with the kids. Her expensive dress was the least of her worries right now. "I have a gang, that's true. However, I was just like the both of you, running away from the orphanage, having nothing and nobody. You two may have each other, though I'm offering a chance here to get you out of this. I know this is sudden, but I'm not going to leave you to live like this, not if I can help it." They both reminded her of herself at that age. It would be painful to leave them alone. Hikage seemed to observe the scene keenly now. Usually she spaced out in long conversations not related to Naruto, yet she was alert. She would follow whatever Naruto would do, no matter how strong this girl was. Naruto was the one who protected her, kept her warm, saved her. Please kids, just come with me, I promise I'm not going to make you do anything involving my profession. I want to give you somewhere safe to live. She was almost pleading with them at this point. She thought she was beyond caring about others at this point in her life, but she felt like she could connect with these two. They were something else to be able to survive this long on their own, which greatly impressed her. It didn't hurt that they were two cuties as well. She's never had family, and these kids might be the ones to change that. Naruto heard her words and he knew this was a big decision to make, but at this point what did they have to lose? Disgusting alleyways and a dirty mattress. Turning to Hikage, he grasped her hands tightly in his own. Hikage-chan, I'm serious, whatever you want I'll follow you, okay? We are in this together, ya know. He ignored Hinata's cry of, that's cute. Hikage stared deeply into Naruto's eyes, her chest gave off a weird pawn again. You'll take care of us? She asked Hinata. Even with Hikage's flat voice, the seriousness of the question can be heard clearly. Of course. You won't hurt us. Not outside of teaching you both about self-defense. Can I be like you? Hinata looked a bit confused at that one. Even Naruto tilted his head at Hikage's odd question. Strong and pretty. I want to protect Naruto. Only Naruto. Naruto had a blush on his cheeks. Hinata's eyes lit up before she grabbed Hikage in a hug and pushed her head into her breasts. You certainly will be. You two are so cute together. Naruto-chan, come over here and accept my hug. No way. You tried to kill me, and we barely know you. Naruto waved his hands rapidly, denying the affection. Come now, my little thief. I'm your guardian from now on, so when I ask for hugs, I will receive hugs. Understood. Grumbling to himself over how fast things were moving, Naruto reluctantly moved himself towards Hinata and joined in on the hug. His face pushed into her large breasts and stuck up against his partner. Hikage seemed almost transfixed on Hinata's huge chest. So big. Thank you for the compliment. Can I be like that? I'm sure you will be. Naru, would you like that? Naruto's bright red face was conveniently hidden by Hinata's chest. He didn't even want to answer Hikage's question right now. Removing the kids from her hug, she pointed a hand to the entrance of the alleyway. Hinata had a flair for dramatics, it seemed. Alright cuties, time to move out before it gets too dark. Pack whatever is important to you, none of that dirty crap, you're coming back to my place. She began marching towards the entrance. Despite how fast things moved, the kids listened to Hinata. Naruto and Hikage gathered what little items that were important before they followed Hinata. Naruto looked back at the alleyway one more time with a sad expression on his face before he felt a small hand grab his own. Shifting his eyes to see Hikage's yellow pupils staring into his own, he gave her hand a squeeze and the duo finally joined Hinata. We have arrived at my humble abode. Hinata turned around with her hands on her hips to face the tiny thieves. Naruto looked over her home critically before a smile appeared on his face. You have a nice house, even if you're crazy. His comment made her face twitch. The building sat at the edge of town, far away from the ever-present noise that the red light district produced. It wasn't the biggest home they had seen before from the streets, but they've never actually been inside one. Naruto almost bounced up and down in excitement for finally having somewhere to live. I'll ignore that insult for now. You'd be surprised what offering protection from rivaling gangs can pay in this town. She told them with a smirk. She paused after seeing their lost expressions at her words. Right, they were only 9. But enough of that. Let's get a move on inside. You kids need a bath immediately and something to eat. Hinata started to move towards her door to unlock it. When she heard no footsteps behind her, she spun around in concern. What's wrong? Naruto. Hikage. Why are you doing all this for us? Surprisingly, the question came from Hikage, who still couldn't understand the concept of helping people who were strangers. I told you both already, you remind me a lot of myself at that age. I can't leave you two living on the streets anymore. While I do have a gang and earn money through questionable means, I'm not going to let two kids who are like myself starve to death on the streets. Hinata's eyes softened as she looked directly at Hikage. She obviously trusted no one outside of Naruto. I won't let you down. So move your little asses inside right now. Flashing her bright white teeth at them, she threw her door open. Hikage, who held onto Naruto's hand like a lifeline, moved slowly with him to the entrance of the home and peered inside. It was clean for one. The hallway leading off into different rooms had shoes neatly sorted by the door and stairs on the right side that led up to the second floor. Wow. Naruto looked around and his eyes sparkled at the comfortable interior. I take it you both like it? Hinata asked the two, already knowing their answer based off the reactions she received. Naruto loved what he was seeing, and based on Hikage's mouth being open ever so slightly in shock, she did too. It's sad how a simple home makes them this happy. She shook her head to rid herself of negative thoughts. She needed to make them comfortable, not concern herself with the sad reality of some orphans. I live alone, and the only visitors I get occasionally are my gang members whenever something important goes down. This is now your house just as much as it's mine. So please, I know it'll be hard, but try to relax. She wasn't exactly the best at reassuring actual children. She was used to dealing with delinquents and dangerous people. Hinata practically raised herself. She had no experience with a guardian or parental figure. Hinata. Thank you. Naruto's eyes were watery as he faced her. They were never given anything by anybody, having to grow up faster than other children their age due to their choice. With how quickly Hinata was taking them in, Naruto couldn't help expressing gratitude at the moment. Seeing him almost in tears, Hinata pulled him into a big hug. She ran her fingers through his dirty hair gently, similar to how a mother would to comfort her child. I'll take care of you both from now on, I swear on it. You won't end up alone like me. She spoke softly into Naruto's ear. Peering over to the other occupant of her house, she called out to her. Hikage-chan, come give me a hug too. Naruto owes me lots of hugs for robbing me. You do too. Naruto's indignant "Hey" was muffled by Hinata's chest for a second time that day. Hikage, not really used to physical contact with anyone besides Naruto, slowly approached her and wrapped her arms around Hinata's waist. She felt the warmth she was giving off. Is this what a parent is like? Hikage questioned herself innocently as she melted into Hinata's soft embrace. They held their hug for what felt like an hour before Hinata tapped them on their backs. We can hug a lot more later. For the time being, I need you two to get cleaned up while I make some dinner. I'll show you both where the bathroom and the kitchen are so you don't get lost. You can take turns bathing. Turns? Huh. The kids' questions confused Hinata. What did they not understand? She was sure she made it as clear as possible. What do you both mean? We always go in the river together. Hikage's flat voice gave her the answer. Naruto nodded his head at her side. Yeah, we always help each other stay clean. Oh, I see how they are. It made sense to Hinata. All they had were each other for the past year, they were used to doing everything together. It was extremely cute, and she couldn't wait to see what would happen when they got older. Alright then, you both can take a bath together. I'll get you towels, and you can wear some of my clothes. I should still have a few pairs from when I was younger. She narrowed her eyes, thinking of where her childhood outfits could be. Hope you don't mind wearing girls' clothes for tonight, Naruto. It's all I have right now. It's fine. As long as we can get out of these dirty clothes, I'll deal with it. Naruto didn't care about the type of outfit. He was more than happy with how generous Hinata was that it could be overlooked easily. Gesturing for the kids to follow her to the bathroom, she pushed them inside before explaining to them where the soaps and shampoos were to use. She couldn't help but giggle at how close they were. Surely it wouldn't cause problems in the future. With the children bathing, Hinata went off on her search for clothes. Clothes that she probably stole when she was around Naruto and Hikage's age. 30 minutes later, Hinata finished cooking a simple meal of fish and rice. She glanced at the clock in her kitchen and wondered what the hell was taking the kids so long. Did they drown in the damn bath water? Setting the table quickly, she moved to her bathroom and listened against the wooden door. Hinata let out a sigh in relief when she heard Naruto and Hikage's voice. Good, they were alive. This is kind of embarrassing to wear, ya know. It's like I'm wearing a dress. Ah. Really, why did I get this big shirt and you have a small one? Hikage-chan, are you smelling my hair again? I'm not sorry. Hinata couldn't stop the grin forming on her face from listening to the two interact. She managed to find underwear and a shirt that could fit Hikage perfectly, but Naruto was stuck with a small pair of shorts and a long nightgown. She reminded herself to do some clothes shopping for them first thing in the morning. She wanted her kids to be comfortable after all. She froze up immediately when she realized one important detail. Wait, my kids. I called them mine. It's ridiculous. She just met them and already she's grown attached in the span of a couple hours. Well, it's not like they belong to anybody else, and there was no way she'd give them up when they were similar to her. Yeah, she wasn't giving them to anyone. Hinata knocked on the door to tell her kids that dinner was ready. Naruto-chan. Hikage-chan. Food's ready. Get out here before it gets cold. The door opened slowly and Hinata's eyes drank in the adorable sight that was Hikage clinging to Naruto's back with her face pushed against his neck. Naruto's cheeks were bright red. It was either from the steam, his state of dress, or Hikage. Hinata didn't know nor did she care. You two are so adorable. I'm glad my old clothes fit you, Hikage-chan. I won't apologize to you, Naruto. You look adorable in that oversized nightgown. Naruto's cheeks burned brighter from her words. Hikage on the other hand couldn't be bothered with anything else. Naruto finally smelled amazing. To her he always smelled good, but now it was even better. You can hang on to your boyfriend later, Hikage-chan. We need to eat now. It was impossible for Naruto to feel more embarrassment. He hung his head in defeat. Pulling the kids along with her to the kitchen, Hinata sat them in chairs next to each other after successfully prying Hikage off Naruto for the time being. She began to serve the two her cooked meal, and they both thanked her quietly. Naruto was too excited to eat a meal that was home-cooked for once. Watching them eat was amused Hinata. She was surprised they didn't tear into the food with no manners. Instead they ate slowly, savoring it and feeding each other occasionally. Only 9 years old and they already act like a couple. The future is set in stone at this rate. She couldn't hide her smirk at the thought of how they would act when they realized the implications of what they did together. Well, she kind of expected Hikage to not care about embarrassment judging by her personality, but Naruto would be very fun to tease. She couldn't wait. Thank you for the meal. Naruto and Hikage spoke in sync while they sat shoulder to shoulder. Now, you don't need to thank me. I told you both already, I'm taking care of you from now on. You better get used to this. Naruto's smile at her words was blinding and she could have sworn she saw Hikage's lips twitch upwards. When their dinner was finished, Hinata sent them both to the living room to watch television. They didn't need to be told twice, especially Naruto. Shortly after cleaning up from the meal, Hinata walked into the living room and witnessed Naruto transfixed at the flat screen with an interested Hikage sitting on his lap. Averting her eyes to the screen, she noticed what was on that had them so intrigued. A show about shinobi. It had to be. The characters wore all black and threw out shuriken as they stuck to the shadows. It seemed both Naruto and Hikage liked the tale of shinobi. She supposed kids could have worst role models. Like myself, for example. Hinata struggled to keep the smirk from showing on her face. She knew she wouldn't be a good role model for kids, she only recently turned 20 years old herself, but she'll do her best. One day I want to be a shinobi just like them. What about you, hubby-chan? Naruto's excited voice echoed throughout the room. I guess we can be shinobi together. Remember what I said, it's us against the world, Hikage-chan. Ah. Hinata stifled a laugh at the tint of red on Hikage's cheeks. She probably didn't even realize she was embarrassed. God, these kids were precious. But seriously, shinobi, didn't they want to be something cooler? Like the leader of a gang? She totally wasn't biased. Letting the kids enjoy themselves for another hour, Hinata decided it was time for bed. She had to get an early start for tomorrow. Shopping for kids wouldn't be easy. She pulled them away from the television to bring them to her room. The sleeping situation needed to be explained. Okay, for the time being you'll both be sleeping with me in my bed. Yes, we just met today, but I won't let you both sleep on the floor or the couch. I do have a few rooms that I'll eventually get nice beds for, though right now we can all stay together. I know you two wouldn't want to be separated, so Naruto, you can sleep in the middle. Two hesitant nods gave Hinata the confirmation she needed before she grabbed her own pajamas and changed in the bathroom. Re-entering the bedroom in a long nightgown like Naruto's and a pair of small shorts, Hinata looked at the two who seemed very comfortable laying on the bed staring at the ceiling. You two comfortable enough? Yeah, it's so warm. Satisfied with the responses, Hinata moved into bed on the right side of Naruto with Hikage taking his left. She snuggled up against Naruto and draped her arm around him to pull Hikage closer. Good night, my little cuties, I hope you have a good sleep. Naruto's voice happened to be muffled. Hinata had him pulled against her breasts like a teddy bear. Giving another smile in the dark, Hinata peeked over at Hikage to see two narrowed yellow eyes glaring at her. Are you comfortable, Hikage-chan? Let him go. I sleep with him like that. It seemed she was possessive. Hinata couldn't wait to tease them endlessly. She released Naruto from her clutches and watched in the dark as Hikage's hands pulled him quickly to her own chest. Sleep, Naru, Hikage's whispered to her savior. At least I can breathe now. Thanks, hubby-chan. Hinata giggled lowly when she noticed Hikage's glare return due to her hurting Naruto. This is the best decision I've ever made. With that as her final thought, Hinata relaxed and attempted to fall asleep beside the two orphans who she personally claimed. One thing was certain, with these two in her life there would never be a dull moment. Hubby-chan, stop smelling me and go to sleep. Naruto's hushed whisper and Hikage's little surprised noise made Hinata smirk in the dark. Yeah, best decision ever. Leaving the orphanage at the age of 10 and being thrown into the harsh reality of living on the streets, she survived. She overcame hunger, poverty, and danced with death too many times to count. For years she worked towards gathering a following of her fellow homeless or delinquents. It was easy enough, almost too easy for someone who was barely a teenager at the time. She was blessed to be charismatic by nature and her beautiful appearance certainly didn't hurt to win people over. All the knowledge of illegal activity and organizing well up to 40 members of her gang couldn't prepare her for the biggest struggle of her life. Parenting. 2 years went by fast for Hikage and Naruto. For Hinata, she felt like she aged 30 more. That wasn't to say she wasn't attached to the children she claimed as her own. No, she loved them more than anything. However, nothing she's read in books or seen on television could prepare her to raise unique children. She couldn't judge them. Hinata was different herself and she'd never want to change the ones who she came to love as family. At only 22, Hinata would have appeared the same as she was before she met her little cuties, but with ridiculous bedhead and a robe hastily thrown on, she looked like a hot mess. Managing her members daily and making sure the kids were taken care of in all aspects was a challenge. She needed a break. There aren't any breaks when you're a mom, she thought to herself with a small smile. She stood in front of the stovetop preparing breakfast for her children. Today she wasn't going to be training with Naruto and Hikage. Instead she planned to relax with them somewhere outside the house and away from her hideout. Totally not to escape from her responsibilities. Learning how to fight, and even how to kill, wasn't easy for her. Despite her beauty, she was cut up and bruised more times than she could count when she was trying to rise from the bottom of the food chain. When she initially started teaching her little thieves to fight, it was unnatural how quickly they picked up on her lessons. She didn't exactly have a fighting style. She was, unsurprisingly, more akin to a brawler in a fight, or a thug. Her precious knife was able to pick up the slack for her in any possible scenario and she was quite confident in her speed to dance around opponents. Hikage was extremely similar to her when she takes out her own knife. It was a bit scary for Hinata to see her normally stoic and emotionless daughter start to grin and laugh wildly when chasing her down in a spar. Hikage was fast, incredibly so for her age, and her sadistic streak was entirely Hinata's fault. In a way she was proud to have taught her daughter how to fight like her. Naruto on the other hand was far more complicated in Hinata's opinion. The way he maneuvered when sparring with either her or some of the more combat-oriented members she had in her gang was instinctual. The way his eyes would be able to follow movements that should make him stagger, or how he could outrun people 2 times his age without breaking a sweat. Naruto was not normal. Everything seemed precise, planned, and sometimes Hinata could have sworn he was trained before she could get her hands on him. It made no sense. He was an orphan. He struggled to survive with Hikage on the streets, and before that he was in the orphanage growing up. Occasionally, he acted much more mature than an 11-year-old should. He understood concepts that Hinata knew he should have a hard time with. The unusual bouts of cunningness or quick reactions had her watching him closely outside of combat. Hinata would have continued thinking about her children's progress if not for the overpowering smell of burnt food that hit her. She peered down to see that she somehow managed to completely burn scrambled eggs. Her eye twitched and she berated herself for becoming distracted while cooking. It only got worse when the smoke detectors in her home went off, making her eye twitch even more. Even a simple breakfast was a challenge for her today. Just another day of being a mom. Bright blue eyes cracked open upon hearing the shrill noise of a smoke detector ringing throughout the house. He attempted to sit up, which proved to be impossible due to the mess of limbs holding his body down. Looking over to see Hikage holding his left arm in a death grip as her legs coiled around his own, Naruto knew he wasn't going to be moving until she woke up. He scratched his whiskered cheek, wondering how to wake her up. Hikage was completely unaffected by the smoke detector's noise. He started to tap Hikage on the shoulder, which immediately proved to be ineffective. Patting her on the head didn't work. Trying to struggle with his legs wasted energy and trying to pull his arm out her chest wasn't helping. He narrowed his eyes at her torso, trying to figure out why her chest felt like pillows on his arm. Feeling the grip on his legs tighten even more caused him to stop the staring contest with Hikage's chest. Naruto's gaze met with Hikage's special eyes. She didn't release him but at least she was awake. Hubby-chan, let me go. Ka-chan probably needs help with breakfast. Naruto let out a tiny laugh, knowing his mother became distracted easily. No, he expected her answer, but he had to try. Hubby-chan. He whined out and wiggled his body to move. It happened often and he could never get out of her grip. Hikage's resemblance to a snake didn't end at her eyes. I'll let go, if you give me what I want. Her monotone voice stopped his pointless fight to move. His face burned from her stipulation. They were still young but Hikage recently started a habit after seeing Hinata do it. He sighed and accepted with a small nod. Naruto leaned close to Hikage and pecked her on the cheek. Kissing her cheek was the only thing she wanted every morning. Good morning, Naru. Her tone didn't seem different, but Naruto's been with her for years. He could tell she was happy. Good morning, Hikage-chan. His grin left her feeling warm. Let's go see what Hinata is doing. Hikage sat cross-legged in the middle of the bed now. She looked at him and expected him to know what comes next. Fighting the urge to frown due to how Hikage addressed Hinata, Naruto jumped off the bed and offered his back to her. Hikage had a lot of habits pertaining to Naruto, the piggyback one never left her even as she aged. Hurriedly moving onto his back and securing her arms around his neck comfortably, Hikage was in one of her favorite positions when it came to transport. She wasn't good at saying what she liked, but his piggyback rides were on the top of her list. Naruto held onto her thighs and suppressed his embarrassment from the fact that she wasn't wearing shorts again. Hinata would probably give her hell about that. He did his best to ignore the feeling as he moved to the kitchen to hopefully prevent his mother from burning the house down. Fucking stupid eggs. Naruto ducked into the kitchen with Hikage on his back and saw Hinata, who looked like she just rolled out of bed. She glared down at what looked to be a lump of black coal. Ka-chan, is that breakfast? Naruto's question made Hinata spin around fast and stare at them blankly. Having her son judge her failures was not really what she wanted today. Of course not. This was only a test. I wanted to check if the stove was working today. Awful excuse. She knew it. What an awful excuse. Hikage always knew when she was lying. Oh, we can wait for breakfast. No big deal. Naruto bought the excuse. Upon hearing Naruto accept her obvious bullshit, Hinata resisted the urge to grab him and hold him close. Naru-chan, you're such a mama's boy. I love you. Her previous shaky grin turned genuine at his cute face. Love you too. Hikage gripped Naruto's neck just a bit tighter at the interaction. Considering breakfast isn't going to happen sometime soon, I have a better idea. Hinata struck a pose with her usual flair. We can have a nice picnic in the park for lunch instead. I may even make your favorite. What do you think about that? It would get her out of the house and it would give Naruto and Hikage a chance to interact with others their own age. Naruto seemed happy at the thought of being outside today, and with the chance of ramen for lunch, it was too good to pass up. He nodded his head up and down excitedly. Hikage agreed simply because Naruto did. She didn't mind relaxing outside, but if Naruto denied Hinata, then she would too. Great. Get your asses to the bathroom and wash up. Hinata paused before she eyed Hikage up and down. Hikage-chan, how many times do I have to tell you to wear pants or shorts at least? She deadpanned at her daughter's quirks. Naruto appeared more embarrassed at the fact than Hikage did. Naru likes it. He stares at my chest every morning too. Hikage's answer caused Naruto to sputter out excuses. Listen, I think it's about that time I give you both a special talk. I don't want to. You won't want to hear it, but I have no choice. It would be her biggest challenge as a parent. Hinata was stubborn though, the birds and the bees wouldn't break her. A talk. Surprisingly, it was Hikage who asked the question. She tilted her head at Hinata's words, her curiosity was at an all-time high. A curious Hikage was dangerous. Just go get ready before I decide on no ramen for lunch. Similar to a yellow flash, Naruto was gone from the room with Hikage holding onto him tightly. Hinata was glad she didn't have to explain where babies came from to her children at the current moment. Hikage's sudden interest scared her, and Hinata had to mentally prepare for the conversation. Hinata was about to head out to clean herself up before she grit her teeth in frustration. The stove was a complete blackened mess. A gang leader defeated by a simple egg dish. How pitiful. Wearing a nice white sundress, not unlike the one she wore when she first met her two cuties, Hinata felt like herself again. Her hair was perfect, her face was bright, and her confidence was restored after the kitchen fiasco. She packed away the small sandwiches she made for herself and the kids along with the ramen she hoped would stay warm. She stopped by the entrance to her home to wait for the two to come down, hopefully dressed this time. Fortunately, she didn't wait long before her eyes sparkled at seeing how adorable they looked in the outfits she bought them recently. Hikage wore a similar white sundress and matching flats that fit her perfectly. She didn't seem like she was enjoying it, but her cuteness made Hinata not care. The dress stopped just above her knee and made Hikage look like a little angel. She definitely hates wearing that. Hinata thought to herself with a chuckle. Hikage already had a sense of fashion, and sundresses were not part of it. Naruto followed close behind. He wore a nice black button-up shirt and tan shorts, which also perfectly fit him. Hinata knew he was a cutie now, but in the future, she'd have to keep the girls off of him. Naruto's eyes lit up at seeing Hikage in the dress. He was used to seeing her in the ripped style of clothing she preferred, not fancy outfits. You look really cute. He gave Hikage his megawatt smile with his compliment. His words stopped Hikage from glaring at her mother. She eyed Naruto up and down before getting close to him. Too close. You look handsome. She maintained eye contact despite the hot feeling in her face. Naruto gave her a big hug and spun her around. Her white dress fluttered in the calm breeze. It was a serene moment for her kids and Hinata wanted to savor it. You smell good too. Hinata couldn't stop the laugh she released at their interaction. It never got old, they constantly outdid themselves. Naruto's embarrassment and Hikage's quirks made for a fun time. Putting her hands on her hips, Hinata decided to get them moving as the day was beautiful. Okay, enough flirting. You both look adorable, but we really should walk to the park now. She was about to grab their hands before Naruto slid up to her side. He picked up the picnic basket and turned to both her and Hikage. Naruto stuck his tongue out and taunted them both. He shot ahead of them, racing to the park. Hikage was extremely upset that she was left behind. Naruto, you brat, you're not going to make me run in this dress. As Naruto didn't appear to listen, Hinata turned to Hikage and tried to grab her hand. Hikage ignored her and broke out into a sprint, uncaring of her dress hiking up. I'm going to kick their asses. She didn't want to run. Not on her rest day, not with such an expensive dress on. Damn it, Naruto. Hikage, you better not let me catch you both. She yelled at their retreating forms. Truthfully, it didn't take much effort to catch up with them, especially since Hikage managed to slow Naruto down by placing herself on his back. That's where Hinata found them. They stood at the entrance of a rather large park in town. Naruto cheekily grinned while Hikage hung over his shoulder. Hinata smoothed out the potential wrinkles in her dress and narrowed her eyes. Ow, Ka-chan. Ah. She hit them both upside the head, lightly of course, but it still got a reaction out of them. Taking the basket from Naruto's hands as he was distracted by the love attack, Hinata began her trek into the park to find a suitable place for her day off. Is she leaving us behind? Naruto asked as he motioned for Hikage to get off his back. Seems like she's in a bad mood, Hikage said as she interlocked her fingers with his. They began to follow after her while she ignored their conversation. Naruto swung his arm back and forth, making Hikage's do the same as they held hands. A couple of onlookers smiled, seeing how cute the two were together. They were an odd bunch though. A tall blonde woman, a short boy with whiskers and a girl with green hair and yellow eyes, they certainly caught people's attention easily. Hinata approached a nice comfortable spot that held shade from a nearby tree and a clear view of the swing sets. She laid out a blanket from her basket and turned to finally address her kids after the little incident. No more being brats. I want to try having a nice relaxing day here. I know you're both a bit older than the usual kids in these parks, but go have some fun together and please behave. Hinata made sure to specifically look at Naruto when telling them to behave. Hikage usually behaved, but once Naruto acted up, she followed soon after. Yeah, we know. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, feeling bad for making Hinata chase them on her relaxing day. Hikage merely nodded her head at her mother's words. We should eat first because we skipped breakfast, then you can go play while I lay under the shade. At Hinata's suggestion, Hikage plopped down right onto Naruto's lap with her legs spread, uncaring of the fact that she was wearing a dress. Hinata would let it slide for now, she was young. Serving them their sandwiches and ramen, she began to eat slowly as they fed each other. Hinata chewed her food delicately while she observed the peaceful park. Parents and children had the same idea as her today, it seemed, judging by all the park's occupants. However, a scene taking place on a bench not too far away is what caught Hinata's eye. She watched a woman shuffle around with a camera pointed at a seated girl. The young child had a smile on her face that Hinata was able to tell instantly was fake. She knew how to read people from her time on the streets, and the girl was clearly putting on a show. She was dressed in a beautiful pink dress with a large bow of the same color sitting atop her blonde hair. The shade was different from Hinata's and the girl's hairstyle was curled perfectly. From one glance at her, Hinata could tell they were rich. Hinata narrowed her eyes as she watched the older woman make the girl pose like someone playing with a doll. It continued on for a while before Hinata's curiosity got the better of her. She cleared her throat to get Naruto and Hikage's attention. Do you two see that girl over there? The one on the bench? Her questions made Naruto look up from slurping his ramen. Hikage ignored her mother in favor of watching Naruto eat. Yeah, what about her? Naruto wasn't sure why Hinata asked that. The girl seemed normal. Why don't you both ask her to play? Maybe you can make a new friend. It was a bit odd to ask them to do that, but her curiosity needed to be sated. Naruto's eyes lit up at the mention of friends. Okay, we can ask her to play, right Hikage-chan? Hinata knew he was excited to socialize with people his age. Naruto always wanted a lot of friends. Do we have to? Hikage wasn't thrilled at letting another girl play with Naruto and Hinata didn't blame her. Whereas Naruto wanted more friends, Hikage didn't see a point in anyone besides Naruto holding her attention. Hikage-chan, it's good to have other friends. Plus, Naruto would really like that. Hinata knew she was manipulating Hikage a little bit, but with how excited Naruto seemed, she wasn't far from the truth. Hikage didn't answer verbally, rather she nodded slowly. Hinata decided to lead the charge and approach the woman. She made sure to put on her best smile and have her kids be on their best behavior. She reached the bench and cleared her throat to get the lady's attention. Very nice, my lovely Haruka-chan. Hold that pose. The woman was in her own world as she snapped pictures of her daughter. The tiny blonde girl didn't even look away from the camera. Hinata decided to clear her throat a bit louder. She heard Naruto and Hikage begin to whisper. Is she sick or something? Why's she keep doing that? Hinata's a weirdo. Hikage's response made Hinata's brow twitch. She ignored it and decided to speak up instead of pointlessly clearing her throat. Excuse me, I don't mean to intrude on your wonderful day, but I'd like to ask a question if you wouldn't mind. Hinata had to hold back the smug grin at how high class she sounded. She perfected that act to sneak into some high-profile places. Oh, the girl's mother turned and looked at Hinata finally. The woman was definitely beautiful, whereas her daughter had bright blonde hair, the woman's was a silky black that cascaded down her back. Her expensive dress hugged her mature body tightly. She looked from Hinata to the kids at her side and gave a small smile. Can I help you? The camera in her hands lowered. I was just wondering if my little Hikage and Naruto could play with your daughter for a bit. They are awfully bored and don't seem to take well to the other children around here. It's dreadful for a mother like myself. The way Hinata spoke made Naruto grimace. It was painfully fake. The woman bought it as she gave Hinata a bright smile. Haruka-chan, would you like to play with them? The now named Haruka widened her eyes at her mother. Why you mean I can play? Play with them? Haruka's disbelief made Hinata narrow her eye at the reaction. The woman nodded her head and her next sentence made Hinata even more disturbed. I suppose it's okay for my little doll to play with others her age. It doesn't hurt that you are of equal status. The strange compliment didn't even register to Hinata as she only paid attention to the words, my little doll. It was almost said possessively. That's great. I was going to relax in the shade since I'm rather tired from work today. Would you care to join me? Hinata had to stop herself from cringing. I appreciate the offer, but do you mind if I run home to get some other outfits for my doll? I assure you that it's very close to the park. Can you watch over my Haruka-chan while I'm gone? The woman gave her a rather beautiful smile that made Hinata even more creeped out. Oh, of course. That's not a problem. My name is. Hinata was cut off quickly by the mother. Great. I'll be back. Thank you for this. My precious doll, behave yourself. Just like that, the woman was gone without even giving her name. Hinata and Naruto watched her leave in disbelief. Meanwhile, Haruka simply stared at her own feet, not even acknowledging their presences anymore. The gang leader turned mom got down on her knees and smiled at the girl that was left behind. Haruka-chan, you're a cute little thing. I'm Hinata and these are my two cuties, Naruto and Hikage. I hope you all can be friends. The girl didn't even acknowledge the compliment but instead looked at her fellow kids. The green-haired one regarded her coldly, not caring about her in the slightest. The golden-haired boy gave her a smile that made Haruka flustered. Why was he looking at her like that? Yo, I'm Naruto. Want to be friends? He certainly wasn't subtle about it. His grin looked radiant in the sunlight. Hikage. She saw no point in spending time with Haruka. Hikage knew it would be considered rude to think like that. After her experience with people her own age at the orphanage, she only wanted Naruto. You want to be friends? With me? Haruka asked incredulously. Do you not want to be friends? Naruto tilted his head at her, feeling upset already. Hinata watched the interaction silently. I've never had any friends. The blonde girl hung her head in shame, the large pink bow followed her movement. Naruto was surprised. Why not? Actually, it doesn't matter. Hubby-chan and I will be your first friends. He threw his arm around Hikage who spaced out after her introduction. Truth was she watched Haruka closely. Hikage may not care about others besides Naruto and Hinata, but the way Haruka looked surprised at someone wanting to be friends reminded her too much of herself. Really? Do you both want to play? If that's okay with you. Haruka's green eyes were hopeful. Naruto merely gave her a thumbs up. Hikage was indifferent. Hinata knew her daughter would never deny Naruto of anything, so she'd play with them. We do. Let's go on the swings. Can we go, Ka-chan? He asked his unusually quiet mother who rose an eyebrow at the small group. Sure, but be careful. It's quite busy today, I don't want you causing any trouble. Her words made Naruto grumble before he separated from Hikage and approached Haruka by the bench. Naruto grabbed her hand with his own. Both Haruka and Hikage widened their eyes substantially. Hinata's smile strained. Naruto didn't know that they just met and physical contact might not be okay. With Haruka's blush and Hikage's glare, things could get bad. Hinata took a seat on the bench and hoped her curiosity didn't cause any trouble. Hikage and her little obsession with Naruto was bound to start something. Suddenly hit with a wave of fatigue, Hinata closed her eyes for a minute. It was her day to relax after all. Give me a nickname. No. Hikage-san, I'm not asking you. I'm asking Naruto-kun. He can't. Yes, he can. Naruto whipped his head back and forth while the two girls argued over nicknames. Haruka heard him constantly call Hikage by the affectionate hubby-chan, and wanted one from her new friend. While he wouldn't mind giving her one, he couldn't think of one right now. Stop being so mean. I want a nickname too. Haruka was indeed jealous that she wasn't included. Her lack of interaction with her own age group showed that she didn't know how to properly act around others. No, only I get one. Hikage treasured the simple nickname for the sole fact that it was from Naruto. She didn't want some doll girl taking that from her. You're selfish. Annoying doll. That insult made Haruka's eyes widen. Seeing the situation getting out of hand, Naruto stepped in and placed himself between the two girls. Haruka-chan, I don't really have a nickname for you right now. Hikage-chan, can you stop being so mean to our new friend? That wasn't the best thing to say to Hikage. She gave him a look that Naruto hasn't seen directed at him since the first time they met. He didn't like it. Before he could say anything else, Hikage turned away and ran over to Hinata. Hubby-chan. She didn't respond to his call. Before he could go after her, Haruka pulled on his arm with tear-filled green eyes. She's very rude. Why do you like her so much? The whole time they played, Hikage would barely acknowledge Haruka. The comment about being a doll made her feel awful. Her mother's words rang in her head. All the times where she would dress her up. The pictures, the poses, and the flashes of the cameras. That word, doll, she hated it. Hikage-chan is different, ya know. He rubbed his neck again, thinking over his words before continuing. I'm sorry she made fun of you. She's not usually like that. He knew he needed to apologize to her for his comment about her being mean. It's okay. I'm sorry that I bothered you for a nickname. I hope we can still be friends, Naruto-kun. She wiped the tears away and pushed away the memories related to that awful word. We are. Hikage-chan will come around, Haruka-chan. She needs time to get to know you better. He hoped his newest friend could eventually be friends with his favorite person. Can we still play? Or do you want to check on Hikage-san? Naruto searched the park and saw Hikage walked up to a groggy Hinata on the benches. His mom would be able to take care of Hikage for now. He didn't want to lose his chance at making more friends. We can play for a while longer. The smile he got in return made his cheeks feel warm, something that Hikage usually only did to him. Haruka held his arm close and led him to the swing sets. Hinata. 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 The same monotone voice woke Hinata up. She took in her surroundings and was surprised that she actually fell asleep at the park of all places. Yawning tiredly, she saw the other occupant of the bench. Hikage watched with half-lidded eyes. That made Hinata a little concerned. Hikage-chan, are you okay? She's never seen Hikage so defeated. The girl wasn't good at showing her emotions, but right now she wasn't able to read anything. Her lack of a response certified that something happened. Seeing as how Naruto wasn't with her, Haruka was definitely involved. Oh boy. You have to help me out here, I can't read minds. Hinata sat up straight. It was time to go into mom mode. She was new at it, however her skills were improving. Why does Naruto want to play with her? He kept pushing her on the swing instead of me. Why did he play with her first? He also was going to give her a nickname, only I get a nickname. Hikage looked into her mom's eyes deeply. Hinata was surprised at how much her daughter spoke. Hinata knew how possessive Hikage was of Naruto. The young girl was jealous, extremely so. She may have no problem playing with Haruka because of Naruto's excitement, but she did not want to be second place to anybody. She needed to explain to Hikage what jealousy was and ensure her that Naruto cared about her. The only reason this was serious to Hinata was because she wanted Hikage to start labeling the emotions she felt. Even if they were negative. Hikage-chan, you know Naruto is a very caring person. He's just being nice to his new friend. He always wanted more friends. He doesn't need any friends, he has me. Hinata gazed to the heavens at her daughter's response. Being a mother was hard. Listen, I know you aren't crazy about having friends, but do you want Naruto to be upset by taking his new friend away? I don't want Naruto to be upset. Hikage fiddled with the hem of her dress. Of course you don't. You have to realize that Naruto is going to talk with other people besides you or me. You will too one day. Hinata patted her on the head softly. Hikage's eyes closed at feeling her mother's gentle hand. She would have relaxed if not for the question eating away at her. Why does my body hurt when he pays attention to Haruka? You're jealous. Hinata wasn't the best at dealing with kids, she told Hikage it bluntly. Jealous. Uncertainty swam in her yellow eyes. Yes, jealous. You are jealous. That pain you get is because you're afraid Naruto is going to replace you with someone else. Jealous. Hikage was a smart girl. She may not get the whole emotions thing on her own, but Hinata was laying it all out for her. Pulling Hikage onto her lap, Hinata rested her chin on top of her daughter's head and watched from afar as Naruto pushed Haruka on the swings. The blonde girl was practically bouncing with joy on the swings. Hikage, Naruto loves you. I know both of you may not understand, but he does. You're his hubby-chan, after all. Even if he gives someone else a nickname, yours would mean more. If she could see Hikage's face, she would have seen her snake-like eyes peering at Naruto. Love, Hikage whispered while in her mother's hold. Love, you're both young but you're attached to an extreme that I've never seen before. Don't worry about what others do, you'll always have each other. She spun Hikage around so they faced each other. And hey, if they try to take Naruto-chan, beat the shit out of them. Hinata gave a savage grin that looked out of place on her beautiful face. It succeeded in making Hikage's mouth curve upwards. Thank you, Ka-san. Hikage sounded a little embarrassed saying those words. Hinata on the other hand couldn't be happier. Her eyes lit up and she kissed Hikage on the forehead. No problem baby. I want you to understand these things so that you don't confuse Naruto even more than he normally is. Hinata's back stiffened when she noticed one thing. Where is Haruka-chan's mother? She said it'd only be a few minutes. I definitely fell asleep for longer than that. She's crazy, Hikage bluntly stated. Hell yeah, she is. Still, it's not normal for her to leave her daughter in a park with strangers. I'm going to get Haruka back over here and try to take her home. She carried Hikage with her as she gathered the picnic basket and blanket. They eventually reached the two playing children. Higher Naruto-kun. Higher. Haruka-chan, my arms hurt. Naruto-kun, please. Haruka looked like a completely different girl now that Hinata saw her smiling genuinely. Naruto had a special gift in making friends with unlikely people. Excuse me, Haruka-chan. I don't want to end the day, but your mother hasn't returned and it's been quite a while. Do you know your address so I can take you to her? The girl's smile dropped at the mention of her mother. She turned to Hinata with a blank look before nodding her head. Naruto was surprised at both Haruka's change in attitude and at the fact that her mother hasn't returned. Well, if you don't mind leading the way, I'll hold on to your hand, Haruka-chan. You can direct me. Hinata wasn't overjoyed to interrupt her son and his new friend. Haruka walked with Hinata holding an unreadable expression on her face. Naruto felt very awkward with everything happening around him. Hikage wasn't attached to him, Haruka was quiet and Hinata was focused only on her. He sighed to himself, they should have stayed home. The walk was only 10 minutes away from the park, which caused Hinata to be even concerned over the mother's disappearance. The three kids were silent the whole way, creating a tense atmosphere. Is it this one, Haruka-chan? Hinata asked, admiring up the very large home. It was easy to see that Haruka's family was extremely wealthy. Yes, the blonde girl was extremely upset that she arrived at her house. Okay, let's see what's up. Hinata entered through the gate leading to the front door of the grandiose building. When she rang the doorbell there was no answer, and that served to make Naruto and Haruka stand together awkwardly. Hikage looked about as interested as one would in watching paint dry. Hinata was about to ring the bell again before the door opened suddenly. A handsome man, blonde and tall, opened the door. His style of clothing was not unlike Haruka and her mother, very expensive fabrics covered his body. He glanced at the group and his eyes widened at the sight of Haruka. Ah, Haruka-chan. Where were you? The man opened the door slightly more, allowing Hinata to see the extravagant interior of the home slightly. I was playing in the park, father. Her tone was rather cold. I'm grateful this beautiful woman brought you home then. The man gave a smile to Hinata that admittedly made her feel a bit uncomfortable. Haruka's father had a presence that Hinata was familiar with, and she hated every second of it. It was no problem, she was playing with my children. Would you happen to know where her mother went? Hinata forced herself to remain pleasant. Haruka-chan's mother got caught up in a situation. She had to leave for a bit, but again I appreciate your help. Hinata really was convinced Haruka had a strange family, the poor girl. She cleared her throat before addressing the father. She wanted to end the awkward confrontation. You're welcome. Haruka-chan is a beautiful young girl. Naruto, Hikage, say your goodbyes for now. Hopefully you all can meet up again. The father barely even acknowledged the three children, he was too busy looking over Hinata's curvy form. Haruka looked to Naruto first, giving him a small real smile and a quick hug. Thank you for playing with me, Naruto-kun, and thanks for being my friend. I'll never forget you. The way she worded it made Naruto a bit sad, but he gave a grin back. No problem, Haruka-chan. Let's play again sometime. Hearing him want to see her again made the smaller girl's face flush. She broke eye contact with him to address Hikage. Haruka. It was. Haruka paused for a second. Nice to meet you. Same to you. Hikage responded with a dull voice. She wasn't ready for Haruka to suddenly lean in close to her for a hug. She didn't react to the contact before she heard the girl whisper in her ear with venom. Call me a doll again and taking Naruto-kun away will be the least of your problems. Those words made Hikage's eyes narrow dangerously. She would have answered her if Haruka didn't break the hug and bow slightly to Hinata. Thank you so much for taking care of me and letting me play with Naruto-kun. Haruka's tone changed back to her usual cold one. Hinata really wanted out of the situation now. No problem, dear. Don't be a stranger, alright. Her words made Haruka's dad turn his attention back to her. Same goes for you. Don't be a stranger. He gave her a smirk that was not appropriate for a married man. The kids all didn't pick up on his innuendo obviously, but she did. The man pulled Haruka inside and shut the door slowly. Haruka eyed Naruto until the door shut completely. Hinata blinked at the closed door, extremely lost with the events that took place. Her curiosity was her downfall. All it managed to do was give her a goddamn migraine. So much for a relaxing day at the park. That was so awkward, Naruto said out loud, summing up the situation quite well. Hikage on the other hand was glaring at the door with righteous anger. Having had enough of this strange day, Hinata decided it was time to head home. She was going to tell the kids to head out before Naruto jumped in front of Hikage, drawing her attention back to him. Hubby-chan, I'm sorry I had to play with Haruka. I didn't mean to insult you. I just wanted another friend, you know. Please forgive me. His blue eyes glimmered with hope and Hikage's stomach flipped. It's all right. You owe me though. Seeing his questioning look, she continued. You know what we do in the morning. I want that more. His blush satisfied her. He nodded with a red face at her demands. Hinata pushed them close together. Hug it out, cuties. You little lovebirds. It was funny seeing how Naruto and Hikage hugged each other so close. Hinata knew Naruto blushed because Hikage started to develop early. They broke the hug as Naruto suddenly leaned over and Hikage easily got the message. She climbed onto his back and breathed his scent in deeply. Naruto broke out into a sprint the second they left the gate, making Hinata watch with annoyance as he ran down the street. Knowing him, he would probably get lost. Naruto was awful with directions. She was going to follow before stopping for a second, her body froze. Focusing on a rather tall building across the street, she saw a woman with purple hair and a face mask staring directly at her from the roof. She blinked her eyes a couple times before noticing the woman was gone. Hinata's hand dropped to her waist. Underneath her dress was a hidden knife. She wouldn't hesitate ruining her clothes to protect her kids. Hinata eyed her kids running down the street and promised herself that she'd keep a closer watch on them. She wasn't stupid. She knew shinobi supposedly existed, and that women's appearance certainly fit the description of one. What would a shinobi want with her or her kids? Hopefully nothing, or I'll have a lot of ass to kick in the future. Her sadistic smile appeared at her thoughts. It was a mother's duty to protect her children after all. Watching her two troublemakers fight was always a spectacle. It was both scary and reassuring as a mother to see how well Hikage and Naruto fought against each other. Hinata knew they both initially hated to spar together, but once they started, there was no stopping them. It was hard to keep up with them anymore. If not for her years of experience, Hinata would be shocked at how two teenagers fought so well. Ever since the day she saw the purple-haired woman supposedly observing her, Hinata grew deeply concerned. Not for herself, but for her children. She was a leader of a gang that made its home in the red light district. She was bound to have information on things the general public were clueless about. In this case, it happened to be about shinobi. Shinobi. Hinata didn't particularly care for them. She knew in the past they served under the feudal lords of Japan, focusing on espionage, subversion and assassination. In modern times they've become something of a myth to the common man, seemingly disappearing from the earth. That couldn't be any less true. While she's never had any contact with one personally, she knew they lived within society, working for whom though, she did not know. Hinata was strong, she had to be considering her life up until now. However, against a shinobi, she wasn't so sure of herself. That's why she was glad they were monsters in combat. Hinata had no idea if they'd encounter shinobi in the future, but if she's not around, she knows they'll be alright. They were both excellent fighters on their own. Together, she was overwhelmed easily. Breaking out her thoughts, she turned her attention back to the fight. They've been going at it for a while now. They were stamina freaks, despite Hikage's laziness elsewhere. She just hoped they didn't go overboard like usual. Dancing around with her knife, which was much lighter and thinner than Hinata's, Hikage felt alive. She had a hard time labeling emotions, but when she was in a fight, her heart is pounded in her chest. Only one other thing could make her heart jump, and he happened to be standing across from her. Eyeing her opponent, she pushed certain thoughts aside and rushed in, ignoring his grin at her actions. Her sprint changed from a rather normal one to her unique style. She ducked and moved like a snake on the hunt. She got in close to her prey, pivoted around him and extended her wrist, aiming for his exposed shoulder blade with her knife. Her fighting style was based on hit and run tactics in a way, never sticking around long enough for her prey to turn the tables on her. The knife didn't connect. Rather, her wrist was seized by a hand clamping down on it. Thinking quickly, she kicked up, showing her extreme flexibility and tried to strike her opponent in his left arm. However, he expected the show of dexterity from her, and used his forearm to block the kick. He pushed her back and twisted her wrist. She bit back a wince at the slight pain he caused her, but her dull expression changed to a sadistic grin suddenly. The rush she felt when she was locked in a position like this, with seemingly no way out, was what made fighting worth it. Sure, she usually made quick work of certain people, specifically Hinata's gang members who felt they were able to take on the two young teenagers due to their arrogance. This was different though, there was a reason for why she felt this. Naruto gave her a smirk as he locked her wrist in place with his grip. They both knew physically he could overpower her, though she wasn't worried quite yet. They've been going at it for a while. She always had a trick up her sleeve, in this case her trick just happens to be another knife. Utilizing the thin black leather bracers she had on both arms, she used her left hand to withdraw a knife with shocking speed, intending on freeing her other body part. Her quick movement caused Naruto to let go, lest he would have taken a knife to the abdomen. He jumped back a bit, still with the damned smirk on his face as she rubbed her slightly sore wrist. Is that all, hubby-chan? This can't be all you got. The smirk turned even more taunting, knowing that even with her claims of having no emotions, he knew how to get under her skin. Sheathing the knife while keeping her eyes locked onto his own, her face remained blank. Like a bullet, she was off again, moving even faster than before. Naruto's previous smirk was lost now, noticing she was serious. He saw her direct approach and figured she'd go for the usual knife strike, knowing her style well. He was somewhat shocked when she ducked under his outstretched arm and put all her strength into a punch directed right at his stomach. He felt that one. He didn't even have time to wince as she was upon him again, aiming for his left side, knife primed and ready. Anyone else would be nervous in this situation. A normal person could potentially die from the numerous cuts he received from Hikage's wild knife strikes over the years. Naruto wasn't normal. He never knew why. He couldn't even explain it to his mother. He just knew what to do in situations like these. There was no doubt in his mind that Hikage was extremely skilled, but he planned everything out after seeing her approach. Instead of jumping away, or trying to dodge the strikes, Naruto went head-on into her attacks. The slight widening of her yellow eyes showed her surprise at his actions. He got in close, so close that a slight mistake would make it almost assured that he'd be stabbed potentially somewhere fatal. That was if he was going to make a mistake. Naruto didn't plan on messing up. The knife was almost at his rib cage when he twisted his body and grabbed Hikage suddenly, locking her into a hold with one arm, while his other withdrew a knife from the only sleeve remaining of his torn-up track suit. Placing the knife against her neck, he released a breath he held in at his risky move. He was sure of himself, but if it weren't for his instincts, he wasn't sure where he'd be right now. Hikage froze in his grip. He knew his obscure maneuver shocked her and the knife by her neck signaled the end of the spar. Naruto gave a shaky grin, feeling his body pressed close to her own. They were both teenagers. Hikage was soon to be 14 in a few days, and their bodies were continuing to grow as puberty was kicking in. The torn red and black tracksuits that Hinata had for them were also rather thin, adding to his embarrassment. Naruto, deciding to share the embarrassment for once, got close to Hikage's ear and whispered, "It's my win, Hikage-chan." If possible, Hikage froze even more upon his words. His warm breath hitting her ear caused her body to feel very strange. Naruto knew she was in a tough position right now, yet she wouldn't give in. He was curious as to why, before he felt it. Pressing ever so slightly into his lower stomach was a knife. The feeling was so slight that if he didn't notice in a real fight, he'd already be bleeding out. They both just held their position, Naruto holding Hikage tightly to him, both knives ready for what would certainly be fatal strikes. "It's a draw, you idiots. Naruto, are you going to keep pressing yourself to her like that? Or should I leave for a bit?" Hinata's words broke them both out of their little trance. Hikage finally realized her position after Hinata's shout. Naruto on the other hand. "Ka-chan, it was a spar. I had to make sure it ended, that's all." Red-faced, he separated from Hikage quickly. He ignored his thoughts about how nice it felt to be pushed up against her. Hinata hummed to herself, debating on if she should tease her children more. She eyed their current clothing and general changes. They truly have come a long way from the dirty street rats they were. She liked to pay attention to their changes, it made her feel proud as a mother. Disregarding his embarrassed face, Naruto was becoming quite handsome. The torn-up tracksuit revealed that his body was becoming quite muscled from his daily exercise and fighting. Those whisker marks stood out on his expressive face, and his bright blue eyes were currently avoiding looking at the other occupant in the clearing. Hikage appeared to have spaced out again, but Hinata used her recently developed mom detective mode, and knew the girl was thinking about Naruto. She took a moment to admire how well Hikage was growing. The girl's clothing was torn up all over the place as well, something that was the norm for whenever they sparred. The thin clothing did a poor job to hide Hikage's developing figure that Hinata knew would surpass her own in a few years. Besides her assets becoming larger and body filling out, Hikage's face looked the same to anyone that wasn't a part of their little family. Those yellow eyes and dead expression would make others feel uneasy, but they were easily able to see underneath all that. It was certainly easier for Naruto, who was connected closely to her, though Hinata was learning as well. Hikage was human. She quite obviously had emotions just like everyone else despite her words. Her time in the orphanage stunted her growth in that aspect. It was a challenge to draw them out unless you were named Naruto. This boy is something else, Hinata thought with a small smile. To the surprise of Hinata, Naruto had a hell of a lot more charisma than her. He was able to interact with people far older than him so well to the point that they were willing to listen to him. She wouldn't be surprised if her gang started following him over her in the future. Unfortunately, his talent for being charismatic to those in her gang didn't translate well to others. He struggled with people his own age in particular. Especially after his seemingly failed friendship with that girl 2 years ago. Fighting off a frown on her beautiful face, Hinata decided not to think about her son's broken expression following the loss of his only other friend. Instead, she listened in on what she was sure could lead to more teasing in the future. "I didn't hurt you or anything, right? Naruto stepped right in front of Hikage, doing his best to avoid looking at her ripped shirt and pants which revealed her underwear quite easily. Hikage snapped her eyes to his own after hearing his questions. That was a good fight. I didn't expect you to grapple me like that. Her stare remained on him as he bashfully rubbed the back of his neck. That was another small quirk he had. It was kind of a split-second decision, you know. If I didn't time it right, you could have actually killed me. Despite his serious words, he gave her a bright grin. He was confused when she shook her head. No, even if it was close, I knew that you would get out of it. I know you, Naru. Her words made flush, not for anything provocative, rather for her faith in his ability. Because you held that knife at my throat for so long, you owe me. She ruined the moment. Withholding his comment at the fact that she also held a knife to him, he decided to agree to whatever request she'd have. He really couldn't deny her anything. Just kiss already. If you don't, then let's go home. You two look like shit and definitely need to shower. Hinata interrupted their conversation with her loud voice. Oi, it's not our fault your gang's outfits suck. Naruto called back to her from his spot next to Hikage. Hinata merely waved off his complaints about the fabric. It's not my fault you both can't be careful in a simple spar. Shredding each other's clothes. I swear you do it on purpose. Her teasing smile made Naruto's eye twitch. Don't be jealous. Maybe one day someone will want to tear your clothes off. His words made Hinata glare at him before crossing the distance in a second. She still had to look down as Naruto is shorter, but he was slowly approaching her height. You trying to start a fight right now, punk? It'll be embarrassing for you to get your ass kicked by your mother. I'd recommend shutting up. She matched his expression. Ha, as if you could. Hag. He fired back. Hinata looked ready to put her child in his place at calling a beautiful young woman like her a hag. She's only recently turned 25, she wasn't even in her prime yet. The little verbal fight was interrupted by Hikage, who jumped onto Naruto's back and coiled her legs around his waist. She gave them both a dull look as they turned to her. You always do this. Can we go home now? Naru owes me. She wasn't wrong. Naruto and Hinata often argued with each other over nonsense. It's how they bonded, with insults and curses. Hinata may be a good mother to them, but she never claimed to be a good role model. Naruto grumbled at their argument being forced to end as he fixed his arms to support Hikage's weight. Hinata stuck her tongue out at Naruto, making him narrow his eyes at her. She only laughed at his angry look before putting her hands behind her head. You know I was thinking of making ramen tonight. At her words, Naruto's angry expression dropped and he ran past her, not before giving her a quick kiss on the cheek. He started to sprint home with Hikage on his back. Hinata couldn't keep the huge smile from blooming on her face at his actions. He really was a mama's boy. She laughed hard at seeing Hikage tighten her grip around Naruto due to her jealousy. Hinata didn't know if her parents abandoned her, and at this point in her life, she didn't care. All she cared for now was ensuring her two precious delinquents would be happy. She simply couldn't put her gang first anymore. She would never abandon it and she'd be there for any issues, but Hikage and Naruto were priority number one in her life. She was completely fine with that. Returning home didn't take very long and it was a relatively silent journey. Hikage and Naruto were relaxing after their rather intense spar. Hinata was simply enjoying the atmosphere of being with her kids. She turned to them before addressing something that would no doubt embarrass Naruto. Are you going to shower together? If so, I'll use my own bathroom. I don't want to wait for hours. She wasn't disappointed when seeing Hikage's expression change ever so slightly at her words. In the past they showered together constantly. After the dreaded talk Hinata gave them about a year back, they didn't do it every day. The reason behind the change was Naruto. For a few days after the talk, he couldn't even sleep in the same bed as Hikage. The girl was very annoyed at that. Hinata only knew of her daughter's anger because of her glares becoming more venomous for a while. Hikage showed little to no outright reaction to learning about sex. However, this didn't mean she wasn't paying attention. Hinata was a bit concerned about the serious stare she was receiving the whole time she discussed where babies come from. Back to the present, Hinata noticed Naruto look away from Hikage, who appeared thoughtful for a split second. The green-haired girl gave a stern nod. Yes, Naruto owes me after all. Hikage usually didn't have a listing of her dislikes, but Naruto's reluctance to shower with her recently was one of them. Her words caused Naruto to accept his defeat over the matter before walking to the bathroom. Hinata watched as Naruto entered the bathroom with a tomato impression taking over his face. Hikage's next actions caused her to deadpan and question her parenting skills for the 1000th time. The girl began to strip out of her ripped clothes as she walked towards the bathroom until all that remained was a leopard print bra and panty set. Hikage, what did I tell you about leaving clothes all over the house? Seeing Hikage like this really established the fact that her daughter was an early bloomer. Oh, did she bloom? Hikage stopped her stride to the bathroom to glance at her clothes on the floor. She quickly unclasped her bra and stepped out of her panties to be completely naked by the closed bathroom door. Don't care. Bath time. With those monotone words, the girl entered the bathroom. Hinata looked to the ceiling for guidance and gathered Hikage's discarded clothes. Halfway up the stairs to her own shower, she shook her head in amusement over Naruto's startled yelp ringing throughout the house. Stirring a rather large pot of ramen, Hinata hummed peacefully to herself. There were times when she felt drained from managing a bunch of criminals and coming home to two teenagers. Despite the lack of energy she had at times, she'd never trade it for anything. Something as simple as making dinner makes her happy. The sound of footsteps approaching the kitchen fast were more than enough to tell Hinata that Naruto knew the ramen was almost done. She wasn't wrong when 2 seconds later, a barely dressed Naruto ran into the kitchen. Having a towel around his neck and only wearing a pair of blue boxers, Hinata eyed his form with disapproval. Is it almost done? I'm starving. His sparkling eyes were locked onto the pot of steaming noodles. Yes, just about. She pointed at him with her well-manicured finger. If you don't go put clothes on, you won't be getting any though. Sometimes it felt like her children were still, well, children. Naruto pouted at her words, uncaring of his state of dress if it meant he could have his favorite dish sooner. Hinata couldn't help but wonder where Hikage was since Naruto usually can't escape her grasp. Opening her mouth to ask where her daughter was, she closed it immediately and narrowed her eyes at the sight of Hikage. Ah, this is why you ran so fast. I knew you wouldn't leave for any other reason. Hikage strolled into the kitchen, naked and unashamed. A white towel around her neck, similar to Naruto, which didn't even attempt to cover her body. She ran her snake-like eyes over Naruto's form before raising an eyebrow at her mother. Hikage-chan, please don't walk around naked. Even if Naruto doesn't mind, Hinata paused when she saw Naruto avert his eyes from Hikage's body. I don't want you to develop any bad habits. She didn't want her daughter being some kind of exhibitionist in the future. Bad habits? Hikage's bored voice questioned her mother. Yes. Are you going to do this around other people in the future? It's good not to be embarrassed about your body, but this is different. Hinata asked her daughter while keeping her eye on the ramen. She wouldn't mess it up like she has in the past. No, I'll only do this around Naruto. But if I'm in a fight and my clothes get ruined, so what? Hikage responded as she got a bit closer to Naruto. He did his best to simply focus on the ramen. It wasn't working. I guess that's alright. However, I'm your mother and don't want to see my daughter walking around naked constantly. Also, I swear if you leave your bra and panties all over the floor, there will be hell to pay. Got it. Hinata gave her daughter a look that made Hikage actually nod her head fast. She smiled before looking to Naruto. You're a lucky guy, huh? Naruto scrunched his face up, not understanding, then his gaze shifted to Hikage. Despite the fact that they literally just bathed together, Hikage always made him embarrassed. Hinata's smile dropped when she realized they weren't leaving to get dressed. Naruto, Hikage, go get dressed now. I will poison this food. She was an amazing mother. Sadist. Hikage's words were whispered to Naruto, but Hinata had the hearing of a proper mother. You're one to talk, hubby-chan. Now go. She shooed them away with a glare. Naruto was gone in an instant, not wanting his precious dinner to be ruined. Hikage just stuck her very long tongue out at Hinata mockingly before following Naruto to their room. Unsurprisingly, Naruto and Hikage returned rather quickly to the kitchen. Seated at the small table, Hinata was glad that they at least had some manner of clothing on. Even though Hikage was literally just wearing one of Naruto's shirts and panties, Hinata would let it slide so they could eat. Having Naruto sing her praises over the ramen and watching as he fed Hikage, Hinata mused again over how nice it was to have family. The only thing that continued to eat away at her was that woman with the purple hair. She couldn't shake the nauseating feeling she got from thinking about Shinobi. Ha, as if that Shinobi has anything on me. Hinata thought to herself with a cocky grin. She'd like to see anyone try to take her kids away. It would be the last mistake they'd make. These are the ones you've been watching. A rough voice carried throughout a somewhat dark room. The voice was that of a man. He was rather tall, dressed in an all-black suit that complemented his slicked-back white hair. Currently he was seated at an expensive-looking desk, surrounded by paperwork and photos. Yes, Ryo-sama. I observed them while off duty from my own set of missions. The voice that responded was one of a young woman. The man, known as Ryo, looked up from the set of pictures that were displayed before him to address the woman. The candlelight did little to hide her rather beautiful appearance. Not that the man cared much for that. Rin, keep it up. I'm not sure myself why our biggest investor is so keen on observing them. He scratched at his chin, pondering their investor's decision. They are exceptionally skilled, despite being at such a young age. Perhaps Dogen-san sees their potential. Rin responded. The woman's purple hair was tied into a tight bun. Her unique red eyes practically glowed and only added to her attractive appearance. Her body was one that many would lust over. She wore a tight sleeveless shirt that exposed her midriff with a piece connecting to her nose and mouth to work as a mask. Her toned body was put on display due to the shirt choice. Around her neck was a red scarf with various triangles designed onto it. She also wore baggy red pants with knee-length black high-top sandals complete with a long gray cloth wrapped around her waist. The most provocative piece of clothing was perhaps the high-rise black panties that were just barely visible from her waistline. Reo grunted at his subordinate's words, eyeing the 3 pictures set before him again. The blonde girl with the pink bow in her hair seemed somewhat normal, if not for the information Rin had on her. The other 2, the blonde boy with whiskers and the green-haired girl, made for quite the unique combo. He raised their pictures first. These 2. They are being raised by that infuriating woman I see. The one who leads Daybreak. He gave a scowl as he thought about the troublesome gang. Correct. Reo-sama. Her name is Hinata, who despite not being trained as a shinobi, she is just as dangerous. Rin told her boss, also studying the pictures of the 3. I'm not sure how Dogen-san learned of 3 seemingly random teenagers, but it's odd considering this is an all-girls academy and he's scouting a boy. Reo narrowed his eyes in thought. If this could benefit them in the end, he wouldn't care about the gender of the student. He wasn't sure how others would react, but he was in charge, his decision was final. Rin's words broke him from his internal questioning. The boy is extremely skilled. He does not even utilize any techniques like we shinobi do, yet he's capable of physical feats that shouldn't be possible. The girl as well, while not as physically capable, she's fast and deadly. Exactly like the woman who raised her. Despite the fact that she was complimenting them, Rin's tone was clipped and cold. At the end of the day, it was her job, she didn't have a reason to care about them outside of her mission. And this one, Haruka, what makes the daughter of a wealthy doctor a potential student here? He leaned back in his seat, eyeing the purple-haired woman. She is very devious and cunning. The girl hates her parents to an extreme degree, her father more so than her mother. The reason behind this is due to years of her father's infidelity and her mother's somewhat odd and abusive relationship. I also observe her while she practices mixing volatile and dangerous chemicals in secret. It shows how intelligent she can be. While she's less physically capable than the other 2, she can still become a valued shinobi. Rin concluded her report as she stared directly ahead at her leader. Looking out his rather large window, Reo thought on the information presented to him. His mind going through various plans to how these children can benefit him and the school. After all, evil shinobi always were looking for talent. Where good accept few, evil accepts all. He thought to himself. Continue your observations. Report to me on any issues. Don't approach them with a proposition for at least another year. While it may seem late, these 3 don't have any ties to an education system. We can afford to have them come in later to make sure they are worth it. The information shows the doctor's daughter is homeschooled and the other 2 were raised by a gang leader. Which is self-explanatory. It shouldn't be too hard to deal with their education and training as shinobi. While it may be a school of shinobi, education was equally as important. They weren't going to send unintelligent shinobi to fight incomplete missions. Understood, Reo-sama. The purple-haired woman bowed, her large breasts bounced at the swift motion. Now before I dismiss you, how is my daughter doing? He had a very slight smile on his face as he thought of his daughter. It was her 2nd year at the school and Rin was tasked to assist in some of her training routines. Excellent as always. She is a prodigy in all shinobi arts and curriculum. Rin responded in her icy tone, somehow not offending the man in charge. Good, that is good to hear. She will be the pride of this school after all. That's all, Rin, you're dismissed. He turned away from her, not caring to see her second bow and prompt exit. The pride of Hebiho rested on Miyabi, and he'd have it no other way. Across town, in a rather extravagant home, Haruka sat in her darkened room. She looked from her overly large bed to the window, watching the moon and clouds in the night sky. She envied the moon sometimes. It was out there, unbothered, hanging in the night sky and watching over everything under its gaze. Nobody controlled the moon, nobody forced it to stay hidden away. The moon would always come out after the sun set. The moon was free to do as it pleased. Haruka's face was blank, her facial features betraying nothing as she stared at the moon. She couldn't even recall the last time she was able to look at the moon from outside her home. Once upon a time, her mother let her outside, even if it was for those photo shoots. Now, she was indoors every hour of the day, never interacting with anyone else. Mother said it's too dangerous to be outside, people outside lie, steal and kill. Mother didn't like liars, people like her father. Haruka hated them, both her mother and father. Mother said she loved her more than anything. Yet, she was dressed and forced to act like a doll every day. The only time she felt something other than disgust for her mother was around 2 years ago. 2 years, 9 months and 7 days to be exact. Haruka made sure to remember. Father was a cheater, a liar and a manipulator. All things Haruka despised. All things Haruka was becoming. She spent her days with her mother who was too scared of her father. Her mother who would force her to study, dress up, take pictures and sleep. The same cycle. A very small smile came to Haruka's face as she thought about that day 2 years ago. Her first friend, Naruto. The snake girl didn't matter, not after referring to her as a doll. She hated that word, but she wasn't wrong. She wondered if he thought about her anymore. She said they'll play again. She lied. She couldn't leave anymore. She'd look from her window, seeing him standing there with his mother, waiting, only to be saddened by a closed door being his answer. She dreamed of being pushed on the swings by Naruto again, laughing as he told her exaggerated stories of his mother. She'd even put up with the snake girl to play again. She realized she was older now, a teenager, and playing in the park is something for children. But did she ever get to be a child? No, she was a doll. A doll for her mother to use. A vicious smile came to Haruka's face. She was a doll. It was fine. In time she'll be the one playing with dolls. She'll be the one manipulating others. It was easy after all, she's been smiling those fake smiles for years. Smiling was easy. Just like those dolls with perpetual smiles. Haruka laid down on her fluffy pillows and spared one final look out of the window to the star-filled sky. She closed her eyes slowly, the smile melting away once more as she drifted to sleep. Her dreams that night would be filled with a blonde boy's bright grin asking to play again sometime. At the same time in Hinata's household, sleep was claiming the residence. Hinata was knocked out early from a combination of alcohol and having to meet with her gang tomorrow. Naruto, after eating his intense fill of ramen, was passed out in his bed shortly after. Hikage was awake, in her shared bed with Naruto. She would usually be asleep by now, lulled by Naruto's heartbeat like a baby. She laid atop of him and frowned at his current predicament. He was moving far too much in his sleep. He muttered and made such painful faces that Hikage thought he would awake at any moment. She knew Naruto was prone to odd dreams. He never brought it up, but sleeping with him for years, she knew of his habits. He mumbled names and places that made no sense. She's known him for years, the orphanage never held such strangely named people either. It was honestly a bit shocking to Hikage just how many names or things he would say at night. Sometimes it'd be nonsensical sleep talk, she'd barely pay attention, but this was more akin to a nightmare. Her frown deepened at his face. He looked angry. Her recognizing emotions was new to her, she owed it all to Naruto and Hinata. She wasn't very good at it, but when it came to Naruto, she did her best. Tonari. Naruto's rather harsh mumble drew her attention back to him as he whipped his head to the side. Tonari. Another name she couldn't recognize. She was quite good at remembering the names. Some had positive connotations, other were hard to tell. This one was something similar to hate. She never asked him about these names, she figured he never remembered. She didn't want to burden her Naruto with questions about dreams, but his reactions tonight made her feel something. Hikage tightened her grip around him, it successfully stopped his thrashing. Her yellow eyes almost glowed in the dark room as she watched him. He still had a weird look on his face. She put her head down on his bare chest, holding on to him. She began to close her eyes. Hikage. His next mumble made her eyes snap open and her head raised suddenly. She searched his face for any sign that he was awake, but the now peaceful expression told her that he was still dreaming. Her eyes widened as he moved in his sleep, pushing her off his chest to the side. He threw an arm around her form while pushing himself against her. It was like he was cuddling her in his sleep. Trapped by his arm over her, she looked out into the darkness of the room and tried to calm down her beating heart. Sometimes she disliked, hated, yes, hated how she couldn't understand emotions. Her heart was beating faster than it would in a fight, it felt like her chest was going to explode. Strangely, it wasn't painful. As she tried to ponder her feelings, she remembered Hinata's words. Love. Hinata told her Naruto loved her. Was that why she felt like this? Love. She tried to turn in his grip but found no success. She gave up shortly after and decided to try to sleep again. Her final thoughts for the night weren't about Naruto's strange dreams or names. Rather, they were about the word love. Ah, I love him. She was too tired now to think on what that entitled or if that was the correct emotion she was feeling. But that was okay. Love. Love was nice. Hikage fell asleep next to Naruto that night, never noticing the strange tattoo-like mark on his navel fade in and out during his dreaming. Hikage was many things. Downright sadistic in a fight, prone to spacing out randomly, and her general appearance certainly screamed unique compared to those in the general populace. A shopper she was not. She wasn't used to such normal things, despite Hinata's best efforts to make her act like a teenage girl. The efforts were always abandoned in about 5 minutes. That's why she is currently standing in front of a window of a random store, staring at who knows what. The passerby gave the girl odd looks. To be fair, the stares weren't unfounded as she did look out of place with her piercing stare at the poor storefront. She spaced out again. This time it was for reason though. Naruto's birthday was only a day away, October 10th. While Naruto knew nothing about his birth or original parents, he always seemed sure of his birthday and even name, something most orphans were lucky to have. Hikage's birthday was directly a month and a day before his, September 9th, something that Hinata thought was cute for some reason. That's why she was currently at the mall. She needed a gift and she needed it fast. Hikage understood that she shouldn't have waited this long to get a gift for him, but he always claimed that just her and Hinata being with him was a gift. Both Hikage and Naruto were never keen on celebrating their birthdays anyway, yet every year Hinata made them feel special. The current year was different for Hikage. She understood that she was clueless towards most things, but she also knew that they were getting older and she loves him. A proper gift was in order. Having no clue about boys' fashion, clothes were out of the equation and they didn't exactly sell weapons in the local mall. Strolling past store after store, not even noticing the looks from other shoppers, Hikage gave a small huff at her predicament. She idly wondered what her mother would be getting Naruto, but nowadays Hinata was home less and less. Shaking her head slightly to get rid of any negative thoughts, Hikage continued on her self-appointed journey of buying a suitable birthday present for the boy she loved. It'd be a few more hours for her to finally decide on what to buy. With a small bag clutched tightly in her hands, Hikage looked at the setting sun before deciding to make her way home. I wonder if Hinata will actually be home tonight. She aimlessly walked through sun-drenched streets. Hikage was completely unaware of the ruby-red eyes that watched her from the shadows. Naruto sat cross-legged on his shared bed, a scowl set upon his features. For the past year or so he's been having issues that he couldn't explain. Every now and then he'd feel as if something was moving under his skin. It wasn't exactly the best way to describe it, but when he would spar with either his mother, Hikage or random gang members, he'd feel that sensation. The sensation wasn't painful in the least, it was just odd. Hell, he even felt more energized than usual with the weird burst of whatever it was. There's also the issue with his dreams. He may not be able to recall them vividly, but he knows that based off Hikage's words that they are akin to nightmares. He didn't remember names or locations in the dreams, rather he remembered the emotions that were tied to them. At times he felt love, and for some reason even hate. Blowing out a sigh at his puzzling situation, Naruto fell back on the bed to stare at the ceiling. Hinata mentioned that meditating can help a person come to know who they are, which at this point he felt he needed. However, Hinata's words of, "Screw that, it's boring as hell," made him give a small smile at the memory. His mother was another cause of concern lately. She wasn't around nearly as much as she used to be when they were younger. That would normally be fine. Naruto and Hikage were quite independent from their time on the streets. They didn't need their mother at every waking minute, but both of them began to notice her condition that she tried to hide from them. She was drained every day, even more so than in the past. When they tell her to take a break, she denies them. "There's too many issues," became her most common excuse. Her gang was important to her. She always said it came second to her kids, but Naruto knew she was attached to it. Before they came around, it was the only thing Hinata had to truly call her own, something she built up from nothing. She couldn't abandon those who were similar to her, nor did she want to. That didn't mean Naruto liked seeing his mother struggle and refuse help. Hinata had a stubborn streak that Naruto couldn't compete with, even on his best day. The days of telling his mother he'd take over her gang were seemingly over as she began to push him and Hikage away from what she used to affectionately refer to as the family business. There had to be a reason for her sudden change in attitude, and while he wasn't able to assist her with the gang, he'd continue to be there to support her as a son should. Hinata was not the best role model a teenager could have, but he loved her. She was his mother after all. 2 somewhat quiet knocks on the bedroom door were enough to make Naruto sit up in the bed. Giving a muffled answer of, "Come in," to the knocks, Naruto found it odd since nobody usually knocks in their household. His eyes took in the sight of his mother standing in the entrance of the bedroom. Her gang uniform was just as bright as always. That's where the brightness ended though. His mother's eyes looked tired and dull, reminding him of Hikage. Hinata's sleek blonde hair lost its shine and she didn't even bother to keep it as tidy as usual. Watching her eyes scan over his room before settling on him, he waited for her speak. "I already made dinner, Naruto. I just need to take a shower and relax. You can eat either now or when Hikage gets home, but I'll have mine after I sleep for a bit." Her tone was not the charmingly boisterous one he associated with his mother, which made him concerned. Hinata saw his expression darken and gave a small smile. "I'm just tired as all, Naruto-chan. I want to be well rested since it's my baby's birthday tomorrow after all." The smile on her face made Naruto feel a little better about the situation and he gave one of his own back. It lacked the usual cheeriness, but it did the job of making Hinata nod happily to herself. Naruto felt a pit form in his stomach at her words and actions. He promised himself in that moment to try even harder to help Hinata, even if she didn't want it. She saved him and Hikage from the streets after all, he owed that much to her. Leaving his room slowly, Hinata walked down the hall to her own room. Her feet dragged against the hardwood tiredly. The smile on her face was lost, replaced by a blank look. Maybe a shower was what she needed to clear her head, but knowing her luck, it would just make things worse. Stepping into the bathroom and stripping out of her clothing, Hinata turned to the mirror over the sink. Her body was just as attractive as always, her curves made both men and women lust after her. She looked into the reflection at her face and gave a grimace. The bags under her eyes and messy hair made her feel annoyed with herself. She turned away from the mirror to start up the shower. Letting the hot water cascade over her form, Hinata couldn't help getting caught up in her problems. Her precious gang was falling apart at the seams. One of her members turning up dead was something she was used to. People tended to get themselves into trouble. However, the 6 that followed caused her to think it was an attack on her gang. She didn't even know how anyone could have found her hideout. It was in an abandoned part of town, sitting close to torn down homes and factories. She's never seen anyone close by to warrant any suspicion. For months she would watch over the surrounding area, trying to notice anything suspicious. Her search always ended in failure and more of her own being killed. Hinata was confident that if it was another gang targeting her, she could handle them personally. She'd have no fear if it weren't for the fact that she has Hikage and Naruto. They were both strong, undeniably so, but she couldn't help but worry. Giving a rueful smile at her worries, she scrubbed her hair with shampoo. Naruto always did call her an old lady, and he was right at the moment. She was stuck in her thoughts and fears like some jaded hag. She'd never admit it to him. He would give that cheeky smile and act like a smart ass, though she loved him all the same. He was going to be 15 years old. It made her head spin thinking about how fast time flies. All the years of watching him and Hikage grow made her feel older than she truly was. Placing her head against the shower wall, she closed her eyes and reminisced on all the things that made her life worth it. Hikage, Naruto. In the beginning, she never saw herself becoming as attached to them as she was now. Yes, she couldn't leave them alone to die on the streets like she was as a child, although she never planned on putting them first in her life. She was selfish and proud of what she had with her organization. It wasn't extremely large or prestigious, but it belonged to her. It was her responsibility. Hinata tightened her hands into fists and let out a shaky sigh. It will all blow over eventually. I have my son's birthday to celebrate tomorrow. She mumbled to herself and finally focused on her shower. 10 minutes later she was clean and exhausted. Drying herself off quickly and throwing on something to wear, her head hit the pillows on her bed and she looked at the setting sun outside. For once her short sleep wouldn't be plagued by fears and negativity, rather she would dream about 2 odd children staring at her with wide eyes from an alleyway. If anyone were to see her, the peaceful smile on her face painted the perfect picture of tranquility. Opening her eyes suddenly, Hinata was greeted to the sight of the moon sitting high in the sky. A quick check of her alarm clock confirmed the time to be just a few minutes before midnight. Rubbing her face with her hands, she rose out of bed, uncaring of her somewhat inappropriate state of dress. She was comfortable in her home, nobody could judge her for that. Walking down the stairs to the living room quietly, Hinata heard the faint sound of a television playing some random program. She peeked her head in the entrance only to be met with a stare from yellow eyes. Hikage-chan, you're still up. Hinata trailed off as she looked at Naruto, sound asleep with his head placed in Hikage's lap. The girl was absent-mindedly stroking his spiky hair with her fingers. After we ate a couple hours ago, we sat together and he fell asleep. I didn't even know you were home, Ka-san. A thin green eyebrow rose as she looked to her mother who was dressed in a simple pair of black panties and a white tank top. I needed some rest after how busy I was this morning. She lamely gave her excuse to Hikage who didn't seem impressed. That was her normal facial expression but Hinata knew her real feelings. Are you okay? You've been making us both nervous recently. Naruto is worried every day. Hinata was always happy at Hikage being able to identify emotions, even if they were negative. I'm alright. There's a lot happening with my gang, you know that. I'm the leader so it all falls onto my shoulders. All those people depend on me. She replied to her daughter's question and moved to the couch where they were seated. She plopped down on the cushion near where Naruto's legs were stretched out. I don't believe you, Ka-san. Her dull voice made Hinata flinch. Hinata waved her hand dismissively. Really don't worry. Ain't nothing going to happen to me, not as long as I got my babies at home and knife ready. Hinata gave the same grin that she knew Hikage typically had when fighting. The upwards pull of Hikage's lips at her words made Hinata smile proudly. Making Hikage smile was an accomplishment. Alright, let Naru and I help you though. Despite her flat way of speaking, the seriousness of Hikage's words were easily understood. Of course, but not right now. It hurt to lie to her daughter. She felt it was necessary. She doesn't want them to help. It was time to act like a mother and make better decisions for her kids. Seeing Hikage's nod and eyes shift back to the other occupant of the couch, Hinata chuckled. Did you tell him yet? Hearing her mother's question, Hikage was confused. Tell him what? She continued to run her fingers through Naruto's hair. Don't be a dumbass. Tell him that you love him. You already know how he feels, hubby-chan. Hinata teased her. Her words made the normally stoic girl's face flush. Ah, I will. He's been going through some stuff. Hikage's response made Hinata furrow her brow. That was the first time she heard that Naruto had problems. What do you mean, Hikage-chan? He's okay, right? Hinata knew she wasn't home as much, but she didn't notice anything out of the ordinary with Naruto. Hikage nodded her head, unsure of herself. He's fine, I think. He spaces out like I do recently, which isn't really normal. When he sleeps he mumbles and has nightmares. I have a whole list of names written down. Hikage studied Naruto's peaceful expression. Her explanation made Hinata scratch her head. Do we know them? The names I mean. That question was met with another head shake from Hikage. No. The only one that is similar to someone we know is. Hikage seemed to be in thought. Hinata deadpanned at her daughter spacing out mid-sentence. She coughed lightly to get her attention back. Hikage-chan. Sometimes. He says Hinata. Huh, me. She blinked her eyes, staring down at her son. Yeah, maybe he's thinking about you since it's nightmares most of the time. Maybe you help him. Hikage hid her jealousy pretty well, but not well enough for Hinata. Ah, Hikage, you know he loves you more than anything. Naruto-chan's always been a mama's boy though. She let out a laugh when she recalled the affection Naruto shows her. I love you both equally, but you don't show your Ka-chan enough love. She feigned a sad expression. I love you, Ka-san, Hikage whispered out. It succeeded in making Hinata jump off the couch quickly and get into her face. Her mother's toothy grin shined in the dark room, making the bright light from the television seem dull in comparison. Hinata bent down and kissed Hikage on the forehead, noticing the tiny blush that remained on the girl's pale skin. Love you too. I'll be back though, I'm starving. She rubbed her slim stomach and watched as Naruto turned his face directly into Hikage's lap. He moved himself closer to her in his sleep. She giggled at Hikage's frozen expression before an idea struck her. Hey, why don't we all sleep together again tonight? Just like when you were kids. It was strange to ask two teenagers to do this, but Hinata loved them so much and she needed them around after all the problems she's been having. Hikage broke out of her frozen state due to Naruto's face being close to her crotch. She frowned at Hinata's request. Last time we all slept in the same bed you almost suffocated him. Her tone was equally as flat as it was disapproving. Hinata scoffed at her. That's funny coming from a girl whose chest is almost the same size. Also, by how close Naruto is to your crotch, you seem to be enjoying it. You'll suffocate him next. She closed her mouth with a taunting grin at Hikage's evil glare. Pervert. The pot calling the kettle black, I see. Hinata mentally congratulated herself for using an idiom. She never went to school, that was a big accomplishment for her. You're just as bad as I am, if not worse. The girl who smells her little boyfriend constantly is calling me a pervert. There's also the time when I walked in your room when you were about to. She was cut off by Hikage's rather harsh whisper. Go eat, Ka-san. We can all sleep together. Fine, you win. The girl reluctantly gave in to her mother. Ka-chan always wins. Believe it. Hinata's smile was so Naruto-like that Hikage had to wonder if they were truly related. Throughout their whole conversation Naruto remained asleep, breathing softly and calmly into Hikage's lap. Not that she minded at all. Being a shinobi was her calling. Despite problems that arose in the past with certain individuals and schools, Rin was proud of her skills and intelligence. Never did she doubt the path she's taken, but that changed when she realized what her new role was. Espionage would have been easy, too easy. Stuck training one of her benefactor's targets of interest in the art of puppetry to expose a father of his infidelity. Well, it was a pain in her ass. Having to reveal herself to Haruka within the past year was not her original intention. That all changed when the girl meant to burn her house down, with her inside of it. Rin was cold, indifferent and judgmental, but she wasn't going to let the girl die. Especially since one of Hebijo's biggest supporters had an interest in her. Haruka was the most troublesome teenager Rin has had the displeasure of meeting. And when am I allowed into this prestigious school of yours? Haruka's sarcasm was easily bleeding through her question. Rin felt her eye twitch at Haruka's tone. While she may have only taught the girl the basics of being a shinobi along with puppetry skills that she was a natural at, Haruka was itching to do more. The blonde teenager was a genius when it came to curriculum of any kind. She rivaled the principal's daughter, Miyabi, quite easily. I told you, you will be joining with two other prospects. You will more than likely be placed in the same basic classes before progressing through the ranks. Rin's tone was as cold as usual. Do mind your words, Haruka, I won't tolerate disrespect. The ruby-red eyes were chilling to Haruka, who nodded her head once. When though, Suzune-sensei? I've already shown you my puppeteer skills using my father. She spit that word out with as much toxicity as the potions she tended to create. Soon. I plan on giving a proposition to the other two. Rin eyed Haruka. It was hard to tell what the girl was truly feeling. She was extremely good at manipulating others and it made Rin cautious. She refused to give out her real name to Haruka, instead using her alias Suzune. You mentioned one as a boy, right? Yet, you said Hebiho is an all-girls academy. Haruka turned to her teacher of 4 months. It is. There are shinobi schools that allow both genders, but Hebiho is specifically an all-girls shinobi academy. As to why a boy is allowed, that is not up to us. It was true. Rin didn't have a say in it, not that she cared either way. Haruka merely hummed at her answer. I hope they both aren't as easy to break as my wonderful parents were, right Suzune-sensei? The girl's cute smile didn't deflect the worrying nature of her words. She remained silent instead of entertaining the girl. Rin knew Haruka did not have the best upbringing despite the wealth. The only time she acted like a normal teenage girl was when she talked fondly of the boy she knew from years back. Only hanging out for a day left an impact on the lonely girl, and she still held hope of seeing him one day. Rin knew that day would be coming up pretty soon. Knocks on Haruka's bedroom door alerted both of the occupants to look up from their rather interesting conversation. Entering the room was a woman with an emotionless expression, dressed in an expensive dress with her makeup done professionally. She was quite literally a living doll. Haruka-sama, is there anything you need before I retire for the night? The woman looked at nothing in particular, merely holding her glazed look. Oh no, it's quite alright my doll. You're free to go to sleep. Haruka lazily pointed at the woman with a smirk on her face. Rin merely watched with indifference on the outside. On the inside she would never get used to this. The woman nodded once before quietly leaving the room. She roamed the large halls of the house before entering what was presumably a bedroom. I allowed you to study the scroll on puppetry to expose your father for his malpractice and infidelity. It's childish to continue using this technique on your mother daily. Rin's disapproval bled through. Suzune-sensei, it's like you said, soon enough I'll be gone from here. I won't have to deal with my dear doll ever again. It's about time I got some new ones to play with anyway. Haruka's words would have made any other person feel worried for her mental state. Rin was a shinobi though, she's seen a lot. She looked away from the troubled girl and headed to the window. Rest. I have other business to take care of. With those poor parting words, Rin took off into the night. Haruka watched her go with raised eyebrows before shrugging it off. It wasn't her problem, so why bother caring? Stripping down to nothing and getting under her blankets, Haruka watched one of her favorite things in the world, the moon. It was almost time for her to be fully free. Of course, she'll be tied down to a school and service, but it was worth it. Anything beat out her personal hell. The first thing I'm going to do when it's time to go is find you again. Naruto-kun. I'll push you on the swing this time. Haruka mumbled to herself before closing her eyes. As she began to fall asleep, she reflected on her recent actions towards her mother. They were wrong. She knew it. Her new teacher even knew it. She didn't feel bad though, she felt justified. Suzune-sensei did say where good accepts few, evil accepts all. Would you accept me Naruto-kun? The one person who she never had a single negative thought about, no matter how brief their meeting. She only hoped he was the same bright boy that she remembered. She missed having a friend. Sandwiched between two pairs of breasts was not the way Naruto intended to wake up. One pair would have been fairly normal, but his real embarrassment came the fact that Hinata was pressed against his other side. Also, it wasn't his bed. What the hell happened last night? Struggling to free his body from a certain snake's grip, he looked at the two that were occupying the bed. Hikage was sleeping quietly as she typically did, while Hinata on the other hand was snoring with her mouth open. He would have deadpanned at her state if it weren't for him noticing the attire that she chose to sleep in. He quickly became embarrassed. Hinata was his adopted mother, but that didn't mean he couldn't be embarrassed by her looks and manner of dressing. Watching them sleep for a couple minutes, a stray thought brought itself to the forefront of his mind. Hinata never did officially adopt them. It was more like she stole them off the streets. Was it really stealing though if they didn't belong to anyone? Or was it stealing because they were supposed to be in an orphanage? Is Hinata a kidnapper? That look on your face says you're thinking. It's too early to think. His amusing internal questioning got cut off by the flat voice that soon pulled him directly into her chest. MHMHM. His face was comically pressed into her bust and Naruto's words were conveniently muffled. Her thin top and lack of a bra was secretly making him love his position. He was a healthy teenage boy, sue him. Placing his now free arms at both sides of Hikage, he pushed himself up and out of her hold. His face hovered above her own, making Hikage blink her unique eyes at him. Why are we in her bed? Naruto did his best to ignore the way Hikage's long tongue darted out of her mouth to lick her lips before answering. She wanted us to sleep here. You were very heavy to lift by the way. You owe me for not waking you up. Her stare was pointed directly at his lips, and she idly noticed the way he was now straddling her. You can just ask for a kiss hubby-chan. You don't have to always be owed one. Ah, but, we aren't kids anymore Naru. If we kiss like that. Remember what Ka-san said. Naruto noticed the slight widening of her eyes, the small lip quiver and very slight flush of red on her face. He was the best at reading her, she was getting flustered. He was glad though, it was payback for every time she made him like that. For God's sake, kiss already you idiots. Also, have you ever heard of whispering? I'm trying to sleep here. Both teens turned to the right and noticed their mother sitting up. Naruto quickly got off Hikage and got into his mother's face. Hey, it isn't my fault you dragged us in here last night. Don't tell us about whispering you snore really. Hinata cut him off by pulling him into a tight hug. They fell back onto the mattress in a mess of limbs. Shut up. Happy birthday, my little thief. Hinata pulled back from her sudden hug to smile at her son. Thanks, Ka-chan. Love you. Whatever insult he was going to spew at his mother was forgotten. Seeing her smile, he gave his own back before hearing somewhat silent curses from behind him. They were coming from Hikage. The mother and son duo both rose an eyebrow at her. I wanted to tell him that first. The disappointment was clear in her voice. You snooze you lose Hikage-chan. In this case it was more like you're too horny you lose. Don't make out in my bed because if you do it'll lead to. Naruto put his hand over his mother's mouth, having had enough of her teasing. Hikage pulled Naruto away from their mother quickly and interlocked their fingers together. Happy birthday, Naru. She dropped her head, genuinely upset at herself for not saying it to him first. A sensation of something on her face made her look up suddenly. Naruto kissed her on the cheek like he usually does. Hubby-chan, I love you. I love you too, Naruto. She buried her head into his chest. Again, her tone wouldn't have seemed different to an outsider, but Naruto was easily able to tell how hard it was for her to get that out. His grin outshined the sunlight peering in through the curtains. His mother tapped him on the shoulder, mouthing words at him so Hikage couldn't hear. Do what with her? What does she mean? He thought, puzzled at his mother's silent words. Hinata mouthed the word, kiss, over and over again. He mouthed back a silent, I just did, dumbass. Hinata flipped him off and pointed to her lips repeatedly. Yes, he used his lips. What the hell was her problem? Kiss her on the lips. Hinata screamed out, fed up with his confusion. Fucking clueless. She muttered quietly. Hikage was startled by the scream and moved her head away from Naruto's chest only to see him putting on his tomato persona. The snake-eyed girl was blinking, processing her mother's words. Naruto thought she was confused, and the subject would drop. The only thing that dropped was him to the floor as Hikage literally fell on top of him, sending them both tumbling down. She landed on top of him perfectly, and as if fate was on her side, her lips fell onto his. Hinata watched from upon the bed. Yes, while it was weird to watch, she just didn't care. It was a good first kiss, she supposed. Obviously, they both looked like they were lost at what to do, especially Hikage, but they would learn together. Shrugging to herself, she got up to do her morning stretches. Naruto was wide-eyed as he felt Hikage's lips on his. They were both kind of frozen in place, though that didn't distract from the feeling of how soft her lips were. He could have sworn he felt her long tongue at some point too. Hikage on the other hand, well, she just added something to her list of likes. She would now be relentless in pursuing her likes even more. Alright, I'm going to make a nice breakfast for the birthday boy. Naruto, Hikage, don't do anything inappropriate on my bedroom floor, that's why you have your own room. Hinata ducked out of the room in time to avoid a deadly accurate pillow. Being a mother is so much fun. Her troubles of the gang forgotten as she enjoyed her home life. Naruto's birthday was a relatively calm affair this year. On birthdays, Hinata made sure to plan out different activities to let her kids experience things she never did. For Hikage's a month ago, they went out to an expensive restaurant, wearing their best clothing that admittedly made all three uncomfortable. Despite Hinata's appearance, she didn't blend in well with the high class for obvious reasons. However, Naruto didn't want to go out, stopping his mother in her tracks. He wanted to relax at home with his two most important people. Hinata let a smile creep onto her face as they all laid in the living room preparing to watch a movie. Naruto and Hikage were on the floor, with the emotionally troubled girl laying on top of him. They were quietly discussing what movie to watch, and Hinata wasn't paying much attention to their talk, rather she focused on the comfortable atmosphere. At least until she heard the word, shinobi, uttered in the movie suggestion. Fuck, she swore, it was always about shinobi with these two. Naruto more so than Hikage, although she probably enjoyed them just as much. Hearing the two begin to start up the movie, Hinata resigned to her fate and watched along with them. She fell asleep about 15 minutes into the film. Ka-san, Ka-san. Feeling a poke on her leg and the monotone voice repeating her favorite word, Hinata knew she passed out during the movie. Opening her bleary eyes, she looked to Naruto and Hikage, who were both still comfortable on the floor. You both know shinobi don't interest me. Sorry for falling asleep though, Naruto-chan. Her son gave an easygoing shrug, dismissing her apology. Why don't we give you our presents now though? I assume Hikage-chan got you something nice. She gave the girl her usual smile. Ka-chan, you know I don't care about gifts. Hinata shook her head at his words. He was too selfless. Don't care, you're getting them. Don't complain, Naru. His mother responded, stealing Hikage's nickname for him. Judging by the slight glare, she didn't enjoy that. In an instant Hinata jumped from the couch and grabbed her daughter. She dragged her along to grab the gifts they both got for Naruto. The whiskered teen owlishly observed how fast his mother moved, her skill always managed to surprise him. 3 minutes later they returned to see Naruto waiting patiently. Hinata being eager decided to go first. She revealed a long box, wrapped rather nicely. Naruto eyed it with suspicion. You didn't wrap this yourself. Hinata's eyes darkened at his statement before she held the box out to him. He gave a goofy grin before accepting the gift. Opening the box, he was greeted to the sight of 2 long red and black trench knives. They were special due to the way they would be wielded. Both knives could essentially be held in his hands like a pair of brass knuckles. Naruto eyed the craftsmanship of the blades, they were perfectly made, and very deadly. He saw his mother's savage grin at her gift choice. Of course you'd give me something to potentially kill people with on my birthday. Hinata appeared sheepish at that. He placed down the knives gently before approaching her and giving her a hug. I'm kidding, Ka-chan, I love them. Thank you. He was serious. They weren't a normal gift, but then again, Hinata wasn't normal. No problem, sweetie. Don't ask where they are from. Naruto laughed awkwardly at her words. Anyway, Hikage-chan's next. With that his mother broke the hug and grabbed Hikage by her shoulders, placing her in front of Naruto. The green-haired teen stared directly into Naruto's eyes now. I hope you like it. I'm not very good at this. Hikage felt something here. Anxiousness. Nervousness. She wasn't sure which. Especially after seeing Hinata's gift that would probably outshine hers. She presented Naruto with a small black box, also seemingly wrapped perfectly. Giving her his best smile, he took the box from her and brushed his hands against hers. He opened it up and admired the object inside. It was a sturdy silver chain attached to a locket. The locket was shaped like a heart, yet that wasn't what made it unique. The design of a snake biting its own tail over the heart made his expression soften. She was his hubby-chan after all. I love it. He noticed that she appeared to be at a loss for words. She opened her mouth slowly to address him again. Open it up. He didn't even think to do that. Using his right hand, he pushed near the snake's tail and it popped open. Inside was a picture, one that he widened his own eyes at. It featured both Hikage and Naruto sleeping against a tree, clothes torn and messy, but they held each other close. They were about 12 in the picture. Hinata most definitely took it. She had a whole album of pictures, her mom album, but that was a story for another time. Hey, I really love this Hikage. Naruto muttered as he held the locket like it was the most delicate thing in the world. The girl let out a breath she didn't know she was holding before actually giving him a true smile. Even though Naruto always made her feel happy, she didn't smile all too often. She couldn't help it this time. Him liking her gift made her feel really good. Naruto noticed her smile and got closer to her face. How adorable. The professional mood killer presented herself again. I'll go get Naruto-chan's birthday cake ready while you two eat each other's faces. The second time today she had to avoid a pillow being thrown way from Naruto yet again. Hinata disappeared around the corner with an evil laugh. Eat each other's faces. Hikage was very confused by her mother's choice of words. Yeah, she means like kissing. Ya no. Ah. Yup. Naruto had roughly 4 seconds to process the green-haired missile slamming into him, planting her lips onto his. The cake was delicious, however what came after left a sour taste in Hinata's mouth. Her kids were half passed out in the living room again, having eaten a lot of junk food and such throughout the day, they were lazing about now. She had to excuse herself to her room to answer a call. Apparently about an hour or so ago another damn body was delivered right in front of her hideout. She grit her teeth in frustration. Even on the day where she put all that nonsense out of her mind. Fucking hell. Hinata swore under her breath, nails digging into her palms tightly. She didn't want to leave tonight, especially since it was Naruto's birthday. The opportunity presented itself and she had to take the chance on finding out who was behind this. Those 2 teenagers would always come first. But, biting her lip, she knew this was her responsibility. She had to do this. Now came the hard part, leaving the house. Should she sneak out? No, that was wrong. They were her children, they'd be worried, especially tonight. Wanting to pull her hair out, she put on a fake smile and approached the living room. Her special knife was hidden within her tracksuit sleeve for the time being. Honestly, she felt sick to her stomach right now. Naruto. Hikage. Hikage raised her head off Naruto's chest, eyeing her mother's now dressed form with caution. What's the matter? Don't tell me you're planning on going out for your gang. Naruto's voice was scolding, his drowsiness forgotten. Hinata recoiled at his tone. She was the parent here but now she felt like it was the opposite. His mother closed her eyes and sighed lowly. Listen, I need to go check on something. I'm sorry Naruto that I have to leave tonight. It should only take an hour or so. Believe me, after this I'll let you both help me out with this whole mess. This is my responsibility. Don't try to argue. Hinata growled out her last sentence. She was serious. Naruto glared deeply at her and Hikage was alert now. We aren't stupid. Something has been going on, Ka-chan. If it's dangerous, don't go. Please. Dropping his glare, Naruto pleaded with his mother. She was too stubborn for her own good. Hikage watched the interaction silently. Her chest began to tighten. Naruto, I have to do this. I won't say it again. This is my gang. I have to figure this out. Once it's over, everything will be better, okay? Hinata didn't sound convincing, and Naruto looked like he ate something sour. He removed Hikage from his body and got up. In the back of her mind, Hinata noticed how much taller he was getting. They were eye to eye. He's grown so much. No, I don't like it, Ka-chan. You could end up hurt or worse. Let us come with you. Blue eyes bore into bright green, neither backing down. Absolutely not. She was not going to allow that. If they got hurt, she'd never forgive herself. We are strong, Ka-chan. Hikage and I are better fighters than anyone in your gang. Naruto was starting to get angry now, her stubbornness clashing with his own. Seeing that this was about to dissolve into a shouting match, Hikage chose to speak up. Hinata. Her mother blinked at Hikage as she used her actual name, something she rarely did. If you're not back within an hour, we are going to look for you. Hikage's words rang in Hinata's ears. Hikage, you're going to let her go. Naruto looked at her like she grew a second head. Hikage only nodded once. It's her gang, Naru. This is her decision. He was about to yell again before Hikage's next words stopped him. Besides, with her knife and us at home, she'll be alright. Hikage repeated the same words her mother said to her the night before. Hinata smirked at her daughter's words. Walking up to Naruto slowly, Hinata pushed him roughly. Due to the unexpected action, he stumbled back onto the couch, looking wide-eyed at his mother. Her smirk was the same as the day they first met. That arrogant and taunting twitch of her lips was what made Naruto finally give in. I hate this, Ka-chan. 1 hour. Only one. Okay. If you're not back, we are coming to get you. His mother still didn't speak, she just kept that facial expression up. She leaned down to kiss him quickly on the forehead and moved to Hikage to do the same. Both teens watched her every move. She moved to the entrance of the living room, her back turned to them now. I could always count on you, huh? My cute little thieves. If Hinata was turned around, they'd be able to see the tears stinging at her eyes. These brats. She loved them so much. She left the room. The sudden movement of her arm revealed that wicked knife. She was prepared. The only sound that was heard throughout the house was the front door slamming shut as Hinata walked out into the dark night. Hikage pulled Naruto down to the floor, straddling him. Ka-chan always wins. Believe it. The words were so foreign sounding from Hikage, yet they made Naruto have hope. The only thing stopping him from chasing her right now was how confident she was in her ability to handle it. He'd believe in her. His belief still didn't stop the vicious pull on his heart that beat like a drum in his chest. Running through the streets at her speed would make getting to her hideout a short trip. She could hear her heart beating in her ears and her mouth felt dry. Hinata's cocky smirk was now replaced by stern determination. She'd find out who was behind everything tonight and put a stop to all the bullshit. She stopped for a moment, breathing in slowly and flung her hand out towards a random alleyway. The sound of a nearby trash can being impacted from her throwing knife confirmed she hit something. Observing with keen eyes, she watched a small black bird fly off, scared from her actions. Narrowing her eyes, she lowered her arm and moved on. Street, alleyway and storefronts passed her by, but she didn't stop moving. Arriving in an abandoned area of the red light district would be off limits to anyone, but she knew this area like the back of her hand. She stalked around seamlessly, having been down it 1,000 times, but she kept her sights on the pitch darkness of the night. Where is she? That girl was supposed to meet me nearby to show me the body. Hinata thought back to the call. A newer member of her gang informed her of what happened tonight. The girl was named Ruka, a cute 17-year-old who was dealt a bad hand in life. Of course, Hinata would take her in. The mother of two reached for her pocket but held back a curse at the fact that she left her phone back home. The perimeter of her hideout seemed fine, the actual building locked up as it should be. She continued to walk around, hoping to see something. Crunch furrowing her brow, Hinata looked down at the object that made the noise. It was a cell phone laying towards the edge of the street. It was next to a darkened alley. Her breathing began to get heavier at her thoughts. Don't jump to conclusions, Hinata. You got this. Withdrawing her knife and holding it in a grip that felt natural to her, she moved slowly to the alleyway. Hinata's footsteps felt heavier than usual, and for a moment she felt a chill go through her body. The alleyway seemed normal enough, until she smelled it. Blood. A lot of it. Her heart was beating faster now, she wasn't sure if it was her nerves or just the feeling in the air. Walking to the back of the alleyway, two large old dumpsters sat next to each other. That's when Hinata noticed it. No, 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 fuck. She gripped her blade even tighter, and she felt tears come to her eyes. The young girl, only 2 years older than her own kids, laid dead. She's seen plenty of death before, but the age and condition was what got to Hinata. Body stabbed and beaten like she was some toy. The only reason she recognized her was the torn up clothing, signifying her as one of Hinata's own. The poor thing was pushed up against a dirty dumpster, gone from the world, and nobody would care. Nobody cared in the first place. That's why she was in a fucking gang of degenerates. Hinata's hands shook with rage while her face was set somewhere between sadness and anger. A noise drew Hinata's attention immediately, and she spun around with shocking dexterity. A long knife impaled into the dumpster next to her. It missed her by a large margin. She focused on the entrance of the alleyway, the half-broken streetlight casting down on two people. Boys, probably teenagers if she had to assume from their builds. One tall and lanky, the other short and fat. She'd find it comical if she wasn't about to kill them. Age didn't matter at the moment, they would die. Takeshi, you missed. I knew I should have thrown it. Sorry, Michio. Hinata gripped her knife. She snarled at the two. The thin one suddenly had a flashlight pointed at her. The blinding light did little to affect her, but it was an annoyance nonetheless. She only needed to get close, and these two were fucked. Damn, she's pretty hot though. Look at her body, Takeshi. That other girl only lasted a few minutes, this one looks like she could go all night. His partner in crime nodded his fat head in disgusting agreement. Hinata decided to speak up in that moment, wanting to impart some knowledge on the boys before slowly killing them. You are fucking idiots. You don't know who I am, do you? This is my gang, my people, and you did this. Hinata was livid, especially after hearing what they did to the poor girl. Oh shit, Michio, this is her, the one Bossman talked about. They were both wide-eyed. I'd ask about this, boss, of yours, but you know what? I don't fucking care right now. You both die. With that she moved, covering the long alleyway in a mere second. She was about to reach their putrid faces with her blade when a punch to her gut sent her flying back. Spittle flew out of her mouth at the blow. Boss. Both teenagers exclaimed loudly. They looked to the older man now in between them. He was all muscle. His blood-red shirt and brown pants strained against his form. Spiked black hair sat atop his head, almost the same color as the murky darkness of the alleyway. The man eyed his two subordinates with disgust before scoffing and returning his gaze to the somewhat stunned Hinata. What the fuck was that? It felt like Naruto's punches. And how did he get here that fast? Hinata sucked in air at the vicious gut punch she endured. She got up onto her shaky legs and readjusted her grip on her knife. The mountain of a man stood glaring down at her. Hinata of Daybreak, right? It was phrased as a question, but he definitely knew, and his deep baritone voice sent a chill down her spine. What's it to you, motherfucker? Hinata spit an insult even as her danger senses were going haywire. I merely wanted a confirmation before you die. The man unsheathed a knife of own, the silver of it was gleaming in the moonlight. Planting her feet firmly for a fight, Hinata gave a savage grin. Oh yeah, and who are you, big guy? I like knowing the names of people I kill, you know. His face didn't change, he was too calm. Hotaru. Rogue shinobi. Those 3 words. Hinata's blood ran cold. We are going. Now. A voice spoke, making Hikage freeze in place. She was on her way to change into some sleeping clothes as Naruto stood in the doorway. He looked pissed. A look that Hikage has only seen a few times in her life. Honestly, she could count the times he's been genuinely angry on one hand. You don't believe in Ka-san? Hikage tilted her head inquisitively. Naruto always tended to worry about things, and while she understood it, she hoped he was wrong. Besides, if it was a life or death situation, surely Hinata would have told them. Hikage. Naruto's voice was cold, but Hikage knew him well enough to know that he was getting very nervous. She's been hiding something for a while. I know I said 1 hour, but we don't even know exactly where she is. We have to go right now. He loved Hinata, though her stubbornness was making him reach his boiling point. Hikage eyed him for a second. While she did love Hinata just as much as he did, she believed her mother could handle it. However, she wasn't going to deny Naruto, she could never do that. She gave a nod, prompting the same response from him. He moved from the doorway of the living room to grab the long covered box on the table. They held the trench knives he just received a few hours ago. Giving the blades one last look, he clenched his hands around both, wearing them how someone would with brass knuckles. He moved his eyes to Hikage, noticing that she already equipped her own collection of knives. Throwing on his mother's gang jacket, the bright red and black outfit made him remember the first time she outfitted them both with her family legacy. He shook his head. Now wasn't the time, she could need them. Allowing Hikage to lead the way, they locked up their home and headed out into the dark streets. A sense of foreboding took hold over Naruto. Looking ahead at Hikage's back, he wondered what she was feeling right now. Was she really confident in Hinata? Or was she simply telling herself that to avoid worrying? It doesn't matter. We are coming, Ka-chan. I promise I'll kick your ass next time you make me worry like this. Gritting his teeth, they continued on their pathway towards Hinata's hideout. Blades clashed against each other ferociously in the dark. The fight moving from the alleyway to the abandoned street. The silver blade was bathed in blood while held in the grip of a man who looked relaxed and confident. The other blade, the wicked knife, looked as good as new. The woman holding it had various scratches and gashes along her body. She wouldn't die from these, but that didn't negate the pain. You know, the man started. I acknowledge the fact that you won't go down without a fight. It would respectable, if you were half as skilled as I am. The fact that his tone didn't change with the arrogant statement made Hinata grind her teeth in rage. Looking down at her wounds, Hinata couldn't help but lament on her situation. Her breath was becoming labored, her stance was off, and her motivation to fight was getting lower. Hotaru, this rogue shinobi, was shutting down every attempt she made to cut him down. He wouldn't even let her through to kill those two teenagers that cowered behind him. Every time she'd throw herself at him with speed that put many to shame, the man would appear in front of her and counter. She was outclassed here. It was obvious. She wasn't a shinobi. For all her years of struggling to survive and fighting for her own cause, she was being cut down here. Feeling tears sting at her eyes, she blinked them away quickly. No, it was too soon to give up. She had things to fight for. Hinata raised her knife again, locking eyes onto the mountain of a man. He merely tilted his head. Since you continue to put up a futile resistance, I think I'll show you something to snuff out your hope. Hotaru lowered his blade and looked to the scared teenagers. Leave. Return to the hideout. I'll be there shortly. Both boys didn't hesitate in nodding their head, as they got up and ran full speed into the night. Hinata kept her guard up, feeling lightheaded due to the various open wounds. She wanted to kill those boys herself, and she promised herself she will if she gets out of this mess. Well, it's time to show you exactly what makes a shinobi better than some run-of-the-mill delinquent. The man formed an odd shape with his hands, and Hinata felt a shift in the air. Before her eyes, something akin to magic took place. Bright purple walls appeared on all sides of her, seemingly locking her into this cube. Locked in with this bastard. It's a shinobi kekai. Normally it's a barrier, we would use this to keep out civilians. A cocky smirk formed on his face. But this time, it's to keep you in with me. With those words he moved. His speed comparable to Hikage and Naruto on their best days. Hinata only had a split second to react, or she would have been impaled through the chest. She let Hotaru's blade pass by her before slashing out with her own knife towards his midsection. The rogue used his years of experience to move his body perfectly around her form. She could barely track his movement. That's when she felt a tight hold around her neck. He placed his arm tightly around Hinata, slowly suffocating her. Hotaru's previous cocky look was only amplified now. Blinking away the darkness that began to take hold on her, Hinata tightened her hand around her knife even more fiercely, and stabbed it down. The fact that Hotaru didn't expect this action was due to his own arrogance. His look shocked due to the flare-up in pain of his right thigh. Using every ounce of her strength, she twisted the knife as deeply as she could. The hold was released as Hotaru backed off momentarily, allowing Hinata to take greedy gasps of air. Her knife was now coated in the blood of the person she could safely say she hated the most. She'd usually allow her face to contort into sadistic glee at this point, but she felt her body slowing down. There was no time for that. Hotaru grimaced at the wound to his thigh. That evil-looking knife certainly lived up to its looks. That hurt like hell. You better savor that, you bitch. It'll be the only one you get. Putting the least amount of weight that he could on his injured leg, he was off again. To another trained shinobi, he was fighting with a handicap. To a trained civilian, he was lighting quick. Hinata's eyes widened again as he appeared in front of her vision. Expecting another opportunity to counter from the right, she leaned her body in anticipation of the attack. She was wrong. He moved quickly to the left, a basic way to throw off an opponent, but it worked due to her state. Pain. She felt a lot of pain. Her left shoulder currently held a gleaming silver blade. Down to the very bone she felt the twisting of the knife. She didn't even have time to let out a scream as he yanked his knife out again, driving it lower, this time into the area right above her hips. Her eyes saw white light as her world exploded in pain. Kicking her away, Hotaru watched the woman writhe in pain. She wasn't sure which wound to put pressure on. His attack was deadly. Blood poured out of the major wounds like a river. She was helpless to stop the flow. Her knife lay discarded next to her as she fell to the ground. Well, 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 where's all that bravado now? I usually don't do this, but you pissed me off, woman. So outclassed, yet you walk around town like you own it. I'm glad I was under orders to use my gang to take care of the trash. The voice seemed faint to Hinata. She could hear her own heartbeat in her ears, and it felt like she was underwater. Between you and me though, orders or not, I would have done it anyway. Her teary eyes made out the man's black boots as he stood a couple feet away. The voice of Hotaru rambled on more. Gone was the facade of a cold shinobi, in its place was an arrogant man gazing at a defeated opponent. Hinata wasn't even thinking about that anymore, her thoughts weren't occupied by her gang, her pain or her fight. No, they were of Hikage and Naruto. Looks like this is it, huh? My precious children. Hinata let out quiet sobs of pain at her thoughts, which caught the attention of the man to stop his monologue. Giving a smirk again, he verbally put more salt into her wounds. Look at you, proud leader, crying and bleeding out. If only your foolish gang could see you now. He paused, looking thoughtful. Wait, if I recall from the reports, you adopted 2 children. Seems like I have a house call to make. His words. Hinata felt like cold water was dumped on her. That was her biggest fear. She couldn't allow that. She wouldn't. Using whatever willpower she had left, Hinata did her best to get up. Shakily moving her bloodied body, she made it to her knees while breathing heavily. Her arms, despite the stab wounds and weakness, pushed onto the cold ground, which allowed her to begin an attempt at standing up. The rogue watched her struggle in amusement. Hinata stood on shaking legs, her once beautiful face was caked in blood and dirt. Her clothing ripped and torn, revealing much more than she would ever want. Despite her eyelids' protest, she opened her eyes, glaring with enough hatred to freeze a lesser being. Closing his own eyes, the man scoffed at her, not at all interested in her struggle anymore. I have to find her brats, I might as well finish this. He opened his eyes only to narrow them as he moved rapidly to evade 2 throwing knives coming for his skull. They were expertly aimed. Had he not have opened his eyes in that second, he'd certainly be dead, shinobi or not. I can't afford any more mistakes. This ends now. His own eyes became colder. The woman was on her last legs, but her throws were similar to a shinobi. Hinata didn't even have the strength to curse her misfortune over the miss. Regret and pain were the only things she was feeling now. The regret hurting her more than the deadly wounds. Hotaru shifted onto his good leg again, brandishing his blade and moved to finish the job. Hinata had no more strength, they both knew it. Approaching towards the dying woman, the shinobi made his move and struck her with the knife again. Ka-chan. A desperate voice called throughout the thick air. Minutes before with Naruto and Hikage. Retracing the steps that they knew their mother would take to her hideout, Naruto and Hikage kept their eyes and ears open. They ran in the dark, way past midnight, yet they didn't lose speed. Naru, we have to take a right up here. We can cut through alleyways after that. Hikage looked back while running, seeing the object of her affection looking around wildly. He looked awful now, his calm disposition gone in favor of panic. Hikage, we have to move faster, please. Naruto quickly got in front of her, dropping on a knee suddenly and presenting his back to her. Hikage knew he wasn't insulting her physical ability, but they both knew who the faster one was. She got on his back quickly, tightening her hold around Naruto's body as she felt a sickening feeling take hold in her own chest. As soon as she was secure, Naruto took off like a bullet. Racing towards their mother's last location, he felt awful. The sounds of hurried footsteps caught the duo's attention as they looked to the darkened street. Running as fast as possible were Takeshi and Michio, the dark concealing their forms somewhat. Both groups passed by each other and time came to a halt. Naruto's bright blue eyes narrowed into slits as he took in their faces. The dull streetlight casting enough of a glow to make out their features. These two. They look familiar. Naruto was about to come to a full stop when he felt Hikage tighten her grip more. He shook his head. They had to find Hinata first, deal with these two later. Meanwhile, Takeshi and Michio were wide-eyed as they caught sight of Naruto and Hikage. They both resisted the urge to turn and attack them for reasons of their own. Looking to each other, they nodded once. Their boss wanted them to return to base, not to engage in any freaks. Hikage turned her head slightly as Naruto continued to run, watching the retreating forms of the two move as they were bathed in moonlight. She squinted her eyes dangerously. Oh, she remembered, she always will. Resisting her own urge to attack them, she focused on the dire situation. Pushing his legs to their limit, Naruto felt his own tears of frustration come out. Over the fact that he couldn't stop Hinata, he wasn't strong enough to help solve her problems, and that's why she went on her own. Wallowing in self-pity wasn't how he usually acted, but he felt his heart drop in his chest. It wasn't long before Naruto came to a halt in front of the hideout. The abandoned building looked eerie at this time of night. That wasn't what made both Hikage and Naruto stare with shock. It was the form of their mother, in the street, engaging in combat with a large man. Combat was the wrong term. Hinata was barely moving, having just been stabbed repeatedly and kicked away. Hikage fell off of Naruto's back in shock, her grip loosened considerably. Naruto for once didn't acknowledge Hikage, his head was pounding, and his blood was pumping to his heart too fast. Ka-chan. Ka-chan, get up. Naruto roared out, but neither the man nor his mother responded. They both didn't even seem to be paying attention to their surroundings. Hikage didn't even want to move at seeing her mother's struggle, but she widened her eyes at Naruto rushing into the fight. Bang. As Naruto got closer, he was pushed back by an invisible force. Landing on his back, Naruto looked up at the moon in anger. He didn't know what prevented him from getting closer, but he didn't care. He'll keep moving forward. Hikage still couldn't move, her own shock over seeing Hinata's wounds kept her frozen. Hinata, get up. Hinata, Hinata. Naruto continued yelling, looking as if he was pounding on air, but it wasn't blank space, he felt something solid, a barrier. Seeing his mother on the ground and the man watching her struggle to get up in amusement, something snapped in Naruto. Hikage watched with wide yellow eyes as Naruto's form began letting off fumes. Steam. She wasn't sure what the wispy energy coming off Naruto's body was, but she felt it. It was oppressive, it felt like someone was crushing her shoulders. Gritting his teeth in rage, he continued stabbing his trench knives into the barrier, unaware of his current state. Red wisps began to form around him, enhancing his strength unconsciously. His eyes flashing dark red, his teeth sharpening dangerously, and his nails began to take on animalistic traits. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Naruto continued stabbing into something he couldn't quite see. He had to get in there. He had to save Hinata. Let me in. Stabbing forward with his trench knives recklessly, he felt the air begin to shift. It was working. Gritting his teeth to an excruciating degree, he forced himself more onto the barrier. Hikage found herself shaking slightly at the feeling in the air. It was terrible. She felt like she would pass out at any minute. The weight of whatever that energy was began to affect her. She looked on, now aware of her own fear, at Naruto. Her Naruto, using everything he had to help their mother, and she just sat there. She tried to stand on shaky legs but couldn't. Hikage opened her mouth to speak, but all that came out was a whisper. Her usual monotone voice changed into panic. Naruto, please help her. Her whisper should not have been heard among Naruto's banging and the howling of the wind that was rapidly forming in the area. By some miracle, Naruto heard her. Turning his head and snapping his eyes to Hikage, she saw his face for the first time since the energy came out. The red eyes, the angry look and sharp teeth, this was Naruto. He looked at her for a split second before focusing completely on the barrier. Forcing the blades even deeper, he felt it. There. He screamed out internally, unknowingly channeling so much of the red wisps into his blades. The shinobi Kekai fell, crumbling quickly, and everyone in the vicinity felt that aura full force. Ka-chan. Naruto screamed desperately. His voice deeper and aggressive, red slit eyes widened in shock at seeing his mother stabbed in her chest. Hotaru was shocked at the presence of something like this thing. The blonde teenager with red eyes was releasing such energy that even he felt on edge. Taking hold of the knife that was directly above the left breast of his opponent, Hotaru pulled it out fast and jumped back. He eyed the newcomer dangerously, his amusement now gone completely. Hinata spit out even more blood, her green eyes losing light but taking in the form of her son. Naruto, she thought, desperately watching him advance. She didn't have the strength to keep herself up anymore. Hinata crumbled to the ground by her knife again. Naruto's breathing became heavier at his mother's condition. He kept his eyes on her body, ignoring the man for the time being. The blonde watched his mother struggle to move. He was going to call out to her, but words died in his throat. What the fuck are you, brat? Are you a shinobi? Hotaru incredulously asked the evil-looking teenager. The boy's slit eyes snapped to his, and for the first time since becoming a rogue, Hotaru felt the cold grip of death and despair. Naruto's arms hung limply at his side, his strength seemingly drained from the strain he put on himself from breaking the weird barrier. Why you should give it up now, kid? You'll end up like your mother if you try to fight with me. Hotaru knew he was basically poking an angry beast with a stick, but he needed to get into the kid's head, throw his game off. He knew nothing about him after all, he could be trained. He continued on cruelly. Actually, I'm hoping you're more of a fight than that bitch of a woman. His arrogant smirk was uncalled for here, even he knew it. Hearing the words about his mother, and seeing her struggle to breathe on the floor, Naruto began shaking. Not in fear, no. Anger. White-hot rage. The energy was practically boiling around him, radiating from his navel. A cloak of red began to take over him, seemingly shaped like a fox. One tail swayed behind him, twitching sporadically. Unknown to everyone, inside Naruto, bright red eyes snapped open. What the foo? Hotaru was interrupted by an enraged Naruto swiping with trench knives at his face. The speed was ridiculous, he didn't even have the time to react. A big arched slash with one of those gleaming trench knives stabbed right into Hotaru's eye. Arg! The rogue roared, his left eye all but destroyed by the slash and burning sensation of whatever the hell the energy was. He began panting, but Hotaru had no time to breathe as the feral teen was on him again. He had to move fast. Kicking his leg up, the good one, he held back a wince as it connected. It may have pushed away the demon, but the red energy felt like boiling water was spilled on him, but 1,000 times worse. This was not good. Not good at all. Naruto rolled on the ground from the harsh kick, the only effect the action had was proving to be a minor distraction. He hunched over slightly, still gripping the blades Hinata got him. In his enraged state, he idly noticed Hikage making her way slowly to Hinata's prone form. Hotaru knew he had one option in this situation. To retreat. If he stood around and tried to fight this boy after losing an eye he would die. He had no intel on Naruto, nothing. He needed a distraction. He knew he had a few smoke bombs, but the energy-using team needed to be distracted first. Hotaru also noticed Hikage slightly. Perfect, he thought to himself. Naruto bent his knees, about to pounce towards the man. His intent was to take his head off when he noticed Hotaru shift slightly. Flicking his silver blade towards Hikage's direction, the shinobi threw it with deadly precision despite his injured state. Hikage was too distracted by her mother's state to notice the thrown knife, but Naruto did. He reached it in a heartbeat, knocking it away with his blades. Focusing his vision away from his family, he looked onto the other side of the street at the man. There was no sign of him, just smoke, a lot of smoke. Naruto ran directly into the smoke, uncaring of his hazy vision. Shifting his eyes in every direction, Naruto tried to pick out where the shinobi went, as he ignored the pain forming from his navel. Scowling heavily at the situation, Naruto let his arms lower. The man was gone. He couldn't chase, he had more important business. Naruto felt his eyes begin to close as the pain in his stomach got more intense. He didn't know what happened to him, but using that energy, it felt natural. Making his way to the prone form of his mother, Naruto dropped the trench knives to the ground with a soft clang sound. He eyed her bleeding form with desperation until he let out a cry of pain. Grasping at his midsection, Naruto fell to his knees by Hinata. The last thing he saw before unconsciousness claimed him was Hikage calling his name as Hinata's weak green eyes peered in his own. Hubby-chan. Ka-chan. Naruto passed out, falling next to the bloody and broken body of his mother. Hikage broke out of her stupor at Naruto's form after seeing him take the man's eye out. She would worry about Naruto's weird energy later, she had to move. Dragging her shaking legs to the form of her mother, she watched as Naruto intercepted a knife that would have certainly killed her. Uncaring of herself right now, Hikage fell beside her mother, feeling a wet sensation on her face. She spared a single look up at the sky. It wasn't raining. What was this? Crying. She was crying. Hinata looked awful. Stab wounds by her left shoulder, waist and left breast. Deep wounds. She was bleeding out. Hikage felt the tears in her eyes begin to cloud her vision. She couldn't help her. She didn't know what to do. She took her mother's weak hand into her own, watching as Naruto approached them. He was in pain. Hikage wanted to get up and help him stand, but he passed out quickly after she shouted his name. Hi, Hikage. Hinata's hoarse voice came out slowly and painfully. Ka-san, please just hold on. Hikage didn't know what she would do. She had no idea. She felt more tears build up. She couldn't even help her mother. It's okay. Hinata weakly opened her eyes, doing her best to seek out Hikage's face. Hey, Hikage-chan. Naruto-chan. Hinata wheezed out as blood filled her lungs. Hikage listened intently to her mother, despite her own silent sobbing. You both. I'm so proud. I love you both so much. Hinata could barely make out the blonde and green hair that were beside her on the ground. Hey, why don't we all go to the park tomorrow? We can relax, huh? My cuties. She began to mumble under her breath, barely able to hear Hikage's muffled sobs. I'm so glad. Hinata began slowly. So glad. You tried to rob me all those years ago, right? My little. Hinata smiled, her hand fully limp in Hikage's grip. Her breathing slowed to a crawl and her attempts at speaking ceased. Hikage wiped at her eyes, focusing to see why Hinata stopped talking. That's when she noticed, Hinata wasn't breathing. With a smile on her face and her two precious people at her side, Hinata passed away in the middle of the night. Hikage's hands began to shake. She didn't know what emotion this was. She didn't know anymore. She continued to sob as her mother's body was limp on the floor. Her eyes taking in all the fatal stab wounds, memorizing them completely. Hikage felt her own eyes get heavy as she fell next to her mother, opposite to the side of Naruto. She began to breathe at a fastened pace, grasping at her own chest. Hikage soon joined Naruto in unconsciousness due to hyperventilating. The abandoned streets were silent, almost peaceful. The only noise made was Naruto and Hikage breathing slowly as they laid on the cold hard ground. It would remain that way until a purple-haired woman looked down at the family of three with shock and some amount of pity. She gave her own shaky sigh and mumbled under her breath. What a night. Rin let her eyes drop to the blonde boy, a black tattoo glowing intensely on his navel. Drowning. Was he drowning? He certainly felt like it. Opening his eyes, all he could see was darkness. It felt like water was surrounding him and making it hard to breathe. He began to struggle, kicking and moving erratically. That's when he felt movement. He was being picked up. Was it Hikage? Was it Hinata? No, Hinata was. Naruto gasped harshly as he was picked up suddenly and flung backwards onto a wet ground. He struggled to open his eyes again, but surely all that would come out would be tears after what happened. He heard a growl. An animal. He didn't know where he was, and with his eyes still closed he tried feeling around for his trench knives if he needed to defend himself. His eyes were forced open as he jumped from the loud bang that echoed throughout the chamber. He was in. Blue eyes took in the sight before him with nothing short of shock and awe. While red feral eyes took in the sight with confusion, shock, sadness, and rage. Wetting his dry lips to speak, Naruto managed to stutter out quietly. What's happening? Where am I? What are you? Some kind of monster. A giant nine-tailed fox with reddish-orange fur sat before him. Black fur was around its eyes that stretched to the ears, while its red irises with black slits shined with many emotions. Surprisingly, the upper body structure looked human-like, as the fox's clawed hands also oddly had a pair of opposable thumbs. Naruto. What happened? The fox questioned in a very deep voice, peering down in shock at Naruto. I don't know. I thought you would know. What the fuck is going on? Naruto looked confused, angry and sad. He honestly felt like he wanted to cry right now, but the gigantic fox took priority. He was further surprised by a gigantic fist being placed in front of his face. Naruto, sync your chakra with mine. Right now, the fox roared, sounding somewhat desperate. Chakra, sync. What the hell are you talking about? What even are you? He began to pull at his hair. Oh, by the sage, we are fucked. The great beast muttered lowly, looking just as lost as Naruto was. Boy, I will answer those questions in a second. Place your fist against mine. I need to do something. The fist remained in place, waiting for Naruto's action. You know what? I don't even know what's happening anymore. I need to go help Ka-chan. We can do this later. Whatever you are. Naruto stood to his feet, before he was blown back again by a mere finger flick from the beast. You don't understand. Naruto. Do what I ask right now. The nine tails growled out dangerously. If Naruto were paying attention to its tone, he would notice the nervousness. Did he say Ka-chan? Kushina. Why's he look younger? The clothing. The chakra. What is happening? The internal questions were making the tailed beast's head spin. Alright, I'll give you a fist bump, I guess. Naruto slowly raised his fist up to the large orange one. The chamber they were in was completely silent now, not even the water under them was emitting any noise from movement. Kurama was in a huge state of shock right now. What the hell happened? 1 minute they were working together outside the seal against that damn Otsutsuki brat, and now Kurama was up and Naruto lived to be 15 years old again. Hell, the kid didn't even know what chakra was. Focusing on Naruto's chakra, Kurama began to synchronize with him. What is this? Naruto yelled out as he felt the energy coursing through him. It was flaring up around him. First blue, then red, then a brilliant orange and yellow. The colors kept changing wildly and the gigantic fox looked to be struggling. In the span of a couple seconds, Kurama saw flashes of what's been going on with Naruto outside the open seal. This was bad. He'd aged somehow and we aren't anywhere close to home. His chakra's also been laying dormant for many years. I can't properly work with him. Kurama thought with a grimace. Naruto's massive chakra reserves were intact. But, if Kurama couldn't connect their chakra correctly, Naruto wouldn't be able to remember anything from the past. Or his past life. Was it possible for a mass construct of chakra to get a headache? That light show was amazing and all, but I really need to go, Fox. I need to check on Hikage and Ka-chan. Naruto was rightfully impatient. Kurama knew who those people were from the flashes of memory. Unfortunately, Kurama would need to sit and sort through all Naruto's memories to get a full grasp of their situation. Listen, Naruto. You need to pay attention now. My name is Kurama. Do not overreact, but I'm inside you. You are my Jinchuriki. Kurama ignored Naruto's shout of curses, wonderment and disgust over being inside of him. I won't sugarcoat this, brat. You're not from here. Your snake girlfriend and Ka-chan probably should not have even met you. Was it harsh to say? Yes. Kurama was going through a lot right now too. There was no time for politeness. Naruto's eyes widened at the absurdity of that statement. What the hell are you talking about, not from here? I was in the orphanage until Hikage-chan and I ran away. Then we got caught by Ka-chan. Of course I met them. We are partners from a different world, universe, time. I'm not even sure myself, but Naruto, you are not from here. I do not care how absurd it sounds. We were fighting a damned moon brat before you got flung away suddenly and I was pulled back into the seal. Do not shout again about how stupid this sounds. At Kurama's words, Naruto's mouth shut. Kurama knew how ridiculous this sounded, especially since Naruto was lacking his memories, but he needed to understand the mess they're in. You can remember everything about our past, probably. I need you to hit your chakra with mine perfectly. That's the problem though. Your chakra has become so Kurama mulled over the correct words to use for a second. Hard to move since it's been dormant for years. Usually your chakra is wild and flowing, but considering you can't even actively call it out on your own is where the problem starts. You being enraged and drawing upon my more negative chakra isn't enough to perfectly sync the two of us again. Naruto looked pensive, and Kurama was honestly happy that Naruto was seemingly more perspective in this world. Time. Universe. Whatever. What is this chakra? Is it the red energy I used to take that fucking bastard's eye? Naruto snarled out, and Kurama had a bad feeling that this new Naruto would have a bit of a tougher time dealing with hatred. Kurama hummed for a second, wanting to explain it to the boy but not overloading him. Well, more than he already was. Chakra is produced in your chakra coils, brat. It was something my old man spread to humanity due to his awful mother. It's essentially physical and spiritual energy that you damn shinobi mold and throw around like crazy in your ninjutsu. When I teach you how to mold and use your chakra properly, we can go into specifics. Kurama really didn't want to have to train Naruto back up, but it was his partner, he'd help him no matter what. Quote. Shinobi. I'm a shinobi. Naruto had a gobsmacked expression on his face. All the talk him and Hikage had about shinobi, and it turns out he was one from the start. You were a shinobi. Judging from your brief memories. It seems that man you were fighting had some special skills as well. Kurama grimaced, focusing on the memory Naruto's wild chakra showed the Biju. The man killed his adopted mother and caused Naruto to go into a rage, which in turn woke Kurama up from a long sleep. If Naruto had even a fraction of his memories and skill back, that man would never have escaped alive. Kurama did feel bad for Naruto, to know a parent's love again, and get it taken away. Tragic. Naruto looked down, remembering the man who fought Hinata. Do you think Ka-chan will be alright? Kurama. Naruto's bright-eyed looked up at Kurama, and the fox flinched away. Naruto's eyes were much more innocent here compared to the one who survived Kagaya and Madara. I don't want to lie to you, Naruto. Those wounds you saw before passing out. She's a normal human being, Naruto. Strong, yes. But she won't be able to survive that. Kurama looked down sadly at Naruto. The boy hung his head in defeat, tears in his eyes. What about? You said ninjutsu. Do I know anything special that could help her? He looked hopeful for a second despite the tears. His hopes were crushed when the massive Biju shook its head in the negative. You never had the patience, time or control in the past to learn medical ninjutsu. Although at one point you were able to heal wounds far greater than Hinata's. It was strange to address the woman who raised Naruto with the name of the girl whom he was close to dating in the past. Kurama banished the thoughts of the Hyuga girl. It would do no good to be stuck in the past right now. Can I still do it? Can I use that red chakra again and heal her? Naruto's emotions were fluctuating all over the place as Kurama sensed them all. It's a good thing that Snake Girl is with him, he's going to have a tough time. Kurama thought before leaning down and sorrowfully responding to Naruto. I told you, you haven't used chakra in so long. You're in no position to use something like that right now. I'm sorry, Naruto. Kurama truly was sorry. Feeling that the beast was genuine, Naruto tightened his fists before sighing out shakily. Where am I, Kurama? And can I leave? Not that I mind talking with you, but Hikage-chan needs me. It hurt to not mention Hinata, but Naruto knew he'd have to be strong for Hikage. Even though he felt like his heart was ripped out of his chest right now. We are in an area within the seal that connects me to you. While I may not be locked up anymore, I'm still very much attached to you, Naruto. Hearing Naruto's mumble of, this all sounds like bullshit, made Kurama give a small fanged smile before continuing. I could either force you to leave, or if you knew how to channel chakra properly, you could come and go as you please. For now, I'll take care of our visits, don't worry. Seeing that Naruto understood, judging by his head nod, Kurama laid down deeper to stare at Naruto. I know you have a lot of questions, Naruto. I'll do my best to answer a lot of them. However, for now you need rest. You've used my chakra, something that used to affect your body quite a bit before we became a team. Your weaker body passed out from the exertion, you need to sleep it off. The downtrodden look on Naruto's face was a shame, but they were staring at square one here. Naruto approached Kurama's side slowly as the Biju watched. The teen sat and leant against Kurama's fur, letting out another weary sigh. It seemed that unconsciously, Naruto didn't fear him. While it would have been funny, it would have hurt Kurama if Naruto held fear for the fox like he did when he was younger. Hey, Kurama, I'm just going to sleep for a bit. Watch over me, okay? Naruto felt like shit, though he trusted the fox. He didn't even get a response before his eyes shut and he pressed into the Biju's soft fur. Kurama eyed Naruto sadly before softly calling out with a deep voice. Happy birthday, Naruto. Naruto smiled slightly in his sleep, no doubt dreaming of his family, the one who was down a member after tonight. Kurama didn't sleep, 15 years was enough for a nap. Instead, sorting through Naruto's memories was Kurama's goal. After all, they needed a plan for training and Kurama needed to know the specifics of how this world worked. I won't fail you again, brat. Hikage shot up suddenly, eyes frantically looking around the room she was in. The sun was starting to rise, creating a faint light in the otherwise dark white room. It looked similar to a hospital room. Turning her head to her left, she spotted another bed holding the only person she had left. Naruto. She stood on sore legs and began to make her way to him. Her bloodied jacket was removed from her, leaving her in a tight black shirt and red sweatpants. She didn't even bother thinking about where they were or who took them here. All that mattered was Naruto now. I'm sorry, Ka-san. I'm so sorry. Hikage closed her eyes tightly to stop tears from accumulating as she reached Naruto's bed. Once she was sure she wouldn't be crying like before, Hikage opened her eyes to check on Naruto. He slept with a horrible look on his face, tossing and turning in the small bed. Hikage wasted no time getting on top of him, arms wrapping around his torso as she leant her head against his chest. His heartbeat, which would usually lull her to sleep, was frantic. She wouldn't be getting back to sleep. The room, Naruto's state and Hinata's death were all plaguing her mind. She didn't know what to do anymore. Single quote. But at least I still have Naruto. Hikage's dead yellow eyes gained a look of affection as she looked at him. She realized his shirt was removed from him, making a now intricate tattoo easily seen on his navel, as well as the necklace around his neck that she gave him a few hours ago. Hikage eyed his stomach suspiciously, knowing Naruto never got a tattoo with her around and she was always with him, so it warranted caution. A tattoo. Huh. Her thoughts went back to Hinata's vicious stab wounds, which would have been worse if not for Naruto's intervention. What was that, Naru? Hikage mumbled, watching as he slept. She never saw Naruto that angry. The sharp teeth and nails, the deeper voice. The red slit eyes that reminded Hikage of her own. Reflecting on it all, she didn't mind his looks, but not the rage that made her shake in fear. Even though she didn't know what it was, she was glad that he used the somewhat scary energy to help Hinata. Though the effort was futile. Hinata. Hikage should have agreed with Naruto. They could have used force if need be to keep her home. It's my fault too. Naruto didn't want her to go but I thought she'd be fine. Hikage began blaming herself, even though she didn't know anything about Hinata's situation beforehand. Now it was apparent that people were out to kill their mother and in the end it worked. Tightening her hold on Naruto, Hikage felt sick to her stomach. Could I have prevented this? Will Naruto hate me? If Naruto hated her, and Hinata was gone, Hikage would have nothing. It'd be just like the orphanage all over again. Her eyes began to leak again, she knew she was beginning to cry. About to cry for the loss of her mother, over the look of desperation Naruto had and at the thoughts of being alone. Hikage-chan. Naruto's whisper made her whip her head up from its position on his chest. She looked into dull blue eyes that made her chest tighten. She didn't even give him a chance to speak before she began talking, something rare for her, but regret was eating away at her. Naru, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I let Ka-san go. I'm sorry I was useless. Now she's gone and you'll leave me too. Naruto listened as her usual emotionless voice was cracking under the weight of the night's events. He was hurting too, badly, not to mention his confusion over everything involving Kurama. I'll focus on myself later, I have to take care of Hikage. He brought his arms up and wrapped them around her back. Hubby-chan, stop. It's not your fault. You believed in Ka-chan to the very end. I don't want to admit it but not even I did. He looked into those yellow eyes that he loved before continuing. Hinata was stubborn, Hikage-chan. I'm angry at her for going by herself. She had to have a reason for it. Naruto shook his head at the negative thoughts of his mother's actions. Don't ever worry about me leaving you alone, hubby-chan. Even if Ka-chan was taken from us, it'll always be the two of us against the world, right? Hikage's eyes watered slightly at his words. Her claims of having no emotions meant nothing around Naruto. I love you, Naruto. Her voice was soft, carrying easily throughout the quiet hospital-like room. Naruto gave a weak grin at her. I love you too. I swear on everything, Hikage, I'll get revenge for Hinata. Hikage felt his grip tighten around her. It's the promise of a lifetime. His eyes briefly flashed red in his rage, making Hikage stare in surprise. I want to help you every step of the way, Naru. She was dead serious. Where the hell are we? Naruto finally looked around the stale room. Hikage gave a shrug, seemingly uncaring. No idea. If they wanted us dead though, we wouldn't be laying together in a bed. She had a good point. Naruto looked around the room for any sight of his or Hikage's knives. There was nothing. Nothing to defend themselves with if need be. Closing his eyes hard, making Hikage eye him curiously, he called out internally. Kurama, are you there? He realized how weird it sounded to shout in his own head, but he hoped it worked. Naruto, I'm focusing right now on your memories. What happened? Kurama was momentarily surprised Naruto knew to call out over their link. It seems he subconsciously knew from previous experience. Hubby-chan and I are stuck in some random room. We don't have our weapons. If I need to defend her, can I use that? Chakra. He had to pause to remember the name of the energy again. Kurama looked troubled, even though Naruto couldn't quite see the Biju's expression. That chakra will break your body down in your current state, Naruto. You haven't trained to even use your own yet, you think you can handle mine. The Biju responded back. Kurama knew if Naruto was in a life-threatening situation, that chakra would be essential, but secretly the Kyuubi was optimistic that no fighting would break out. Damn it. Well, as long as I'm still breathing, I'll give everything I got to defending Hikage-chan if I need to. Naruto was a bit upset he couldn't use that exhilarating power right now, but he wasn't deterred. He was still a damn good fighter, even though his body and head were killing him right now. Kurama smiled again, thinking about how even without his memories, Naruto was still the same. Always willing to jump headfirst for those he wanted to protect. Hey, don't worry, brat, once you rest up we will get right to work on your weak little body. Kurama gave a dark chuckle at Naruto's loud offended curse. Naruto. Naruto. Blinking his eyes, Naruto came back to his senses to focus on Hikage again. The girl was watching him with concern. You spaced out. Are you okay? Stroking her green hair, Naruto nodded his head. I'm okay, Hikage-chan. I have a lot I need to tell you about, but once we get the hell out wherever we are, we do need to find our weapons and Ka-chan. He trailed off thinking about their mother's body. You both aren't going anywhere right now. A stern female voice called out to both of them, breaking their attention from each other as they tensed up considerably. Standing in the door of their makeshift room was a beautiful purple-haired woman, wearing a very provocative teaching outfit. Her large chest was quite literally straining against her white button-up shirt. Who the hell are you, lady? Naruto had manners, though he was raised by Hinata, so. My name is Suzune, and you both are on sacred school grounds right now. Lower your voice. The woman narrowed her ruby red eyes at Naruto, who looked even more confused. Hikage watched everything with apprehension. School grounds. Whatever, lady, where's our blades? More importantly, Hinata. His blue eyes hardened as he sat up, prompting Hikage to move off his chest. Where is her body? He was on edge now. If this woman did anything. Your weapons are safe in my room for now. As for Daybreak's leader, her body is in a small morgue nearby. I would never allow such a person on the grounds here, but I have as a matter of circumstance. Rin, or rather Suzune now, didn't care much for Hinata as a person. However, the woman's skill had to be acknowledged. Judging by the fact that she attracted the attention of rogue shinobi, she was deadly. Unfortunately, I got caught up in more rogues, preventing myself from getting to the woman. She meant to follow Hinata fully, however Rin had a duty to Hebiho. Eliminating the strays that attacked her was her number one priority. It was cold, but it was her job. If the stubborn gang leader bit off more than she could chew, well, Rin wasn't to blame. Don't insult our Ka-chan. Naruto's eyes were just as cold as Rin's at her words about Hinata. We want to bury her. That's non-negotiable. If you have a problem with that. Naruto stood up, taking a firm stance as he eyed the lewd-looking teacher. The woman looked on with no apprehension at his actions, seemingly relaxed. That won't be a problem, but I have a proposition for you too. She eyed them both. That's the only reason I'm not going to put that brat in his place. Plus, a very small part of her knew they were hurting from their mother's death. She'd let it slide for now. A proposition. Hikage's tone was tinted with curiosity. The woman regarded her with a stoic stare before answering. Yes. You see, these school grounds happen to be one of a shinobi institute. Hebiho Clandestine Girls Academy to be exact. Rin watched the two gain a look of shock. Shinobi. Hikage muttered. Girls Academy. Naruto raised his voice again, dropping his firm stance. Rin shot him a glare at his raised voice. Yes, it's an all-female academy. Shinobi are indeed a real faction, and this academy is the training grounds for evil shinobi. She began her explanation before being interrupted again by angry-looking Naruto and surprising apprehensive Hikage. Evil. Listen, lady. Sunzu, whatever. We aren't evil. Being a shinobi sounds awesome, but the evil part ain't for us. Naruto associated the word evil with the obvious negative connotation, not for a second remembering what exactly his own mother did in her life. That's humorous considering the woman who raised you both was a known killer. You think Hinata was just sending her gang members out to make friends and peace? A good shinobi school would never accept either of you. The term, evil shinobi, does not mean I expect you both to run out onto the streets and murder every man, woman or child in sight. She paused to take their troubled looks before continuing on. Good. Her words were working. We have a saying here. Where good accepts few, evil accepts all. You both have nowhere to go now. A home, sure, but no education and a broken gang will lead you nowhere. You can have a purpose here. Ending her speech, she waited patiently for their response. Hopefully it was a good response or. Listen you, Naruto was cut off by Hikage. Naruto, I think we should take the offer. She's right. Ka-san is gone and we have nothing. Her yellow eyes searched Naruto's uneasy blue ones. Remember, you and I against the world. She recited one of the quotes that Naruto always used to make her feel good. Naruto bit his lip in thought. Yeah, it'd give them both a purpose again. They did always want to be shinobi. Well, he recently discovered he was one. Besides, evil was only a term, right? He wouldn't actually be evil. What would Hinata want for them? For the sage's sake, Naruto. Just accept. The fox groaned out from inside his head, making Naruto blink. It will give you a chance to learn alongside regaining back your abilities, plus the snake girl will be better at defending herself. Kurama explained. This also gave Kurama a chance to observe how this shinobi system worked through Naruto's eyes. The world wasn't ready for a centuries-old chakra beast to plot behind the scenes. Kurama gave a grin at that line of thinking. Naruto nodded his head repeatedly, agreeing with Kurama, promoting Rin and Hikage to raise an eyebrow at his weird actions. He turned his attention back to the cold ruby eyes. Okay, we accept. We'll study here to be shinobi, he said before remembering a small tiny detail. Wait, you said all girls academy. How the hell can I be here? I won't be separated from Hikage-chan, I swear. All. Rin cut him off with a raised hand. The principal of Hebiho has deemed it acceptable to allow you into the student body. You will be trained and educated alongside the females. It's not my concern how the other students will view this, that all falls onto your shoulders. Naruto's shoulders dropped at this. Great. These girls will probably hate me, were his negative thoughts. Hikage on the other hand. All girls. No, I won't allow any of them to touch him. He's mine. She gripped the sheets of the bed tightly that she was seated on, causing Rin to watch the two teenagers with a deadpan expression. This is going to be another pain in the ass, isn't it? Damn it. The evil shinobi thought dreadfully. When do we start then? Naruto questioned the woman as he sat next to Hikage now. The green-haired girl leaned against him. This coming week I will introduce you to another student who will be in the same year as you. You will have your time to pack whatever belongings you wish to bring to the dormitory in the school. Due to the school being all female, he will have to dorm with you. The woman pointed at Hikage, who had absolutely no issue with that. Now, I'll give you both a couple minutes to collect yourselves before allowing you to go to the morgue. I will personally assist you this once in the burial. Consider this a thanks for accepting the offer. Rin worded it like they had a chance to deny, however Dogen specifically wanted them, they have little chance to get out of it. Naruto nodded thankfully at her before verbally responding. Alright, we will meet you outside in a few minutes, Suzune, sensei. At the women's appraising look he continued on. Thanks for getting us from the streets and grabbing Ka-chan. It means a lot. He meant it. Despite being weary around this woman, he was glad she helped them out, even if she has ulterior motives. I'll be waiting outside, Naruto, Hikage. With those parting words, Rin turned on her heel and exited the room. Naruto and Hikage sat in silence for a couple minutes, processing their situation. It's been a long night for both of them even though the sun was rising now. How did she know our names? Wait a minute. Kurama snorted in Naruto's mind. Idiots. You both gave her your names when talking to each other. Oi, fox. Don't insult us. The continued chuckling of the tailed beast made Naruto grit his teeth. Some things never change. Kurama mumbled lowly, strangely happy despite the awful and confusing situation. It felt good knowing Naruto was alive, and reasonably well. This world won't know what hit it. The smirk on Kurama's face was malicious. Kurama, stop planning evil shit in my head. Naruto was always going to be Naruto. And Kurama was more than okay with that.